Hot off the back of our live coverage of last night's Papa John's Trophy clash with Plymouth. And we're back with another packed episode of the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge. You're very welcome. Mike, Ellis, Chris, Joe and myself are going to be guiding you through another instalment of Charlie Austin's Chazetta Football Australia. We're going to be reviewing last night's clash with our Devonian opposition. We'll be previewing our clash with Grimsby and fielding your calls, courting your questions and opinions throughout. However, first, how's about a special guest to warm our West Country cockles? Well, who doesn't like a cheeky left field signing, eh? At Swindon, we've had an absolute knack of delivering these over the years. Think Fraser Digby, Alan McLaughlin, John Moncur, Jan Argefjortoff, Georgian Dar, Chrissy Hay, Mark Walters, Michael Carrick, James Milner, Ian Wone, Noel Ranger, Ryan Mason, Yasser Kassim, Maslow Ongo, and Nathan Burnt, a name but a few. We go so far as to say it's a bit of a speciality down in SM1. Well, tonight's guest is the latest recruit to boast a comparable pedigree with those aforementioned names. He's been capped by England from under 16 to under 20. He's made multiple first-team appearances at Aston Villa before a surprise move to Cypriot football. This striker, touted by many as being one of England's brightest young talents. He's not just back in English football. He's now in the red of Swindon Town. And better still, he's back with a debut goal that's had teammates, coaches, fans alike purring with delight all day. Well, esteemed listeners, at this stage, I was hoping to give you for it to be my great pleasure to introduce you to Rushian Marcus Amori Hepburn-Murphy. However, the big man himself has only gone and got himself stuck in traffic on the way home. So, without further ado, I'll go about introducing my co-hosts because Rushian is going to be joining us in the next 5 minutes. In no particular order, Chris, good evening to you.
Evening, Hannes.
How are you, buddy? Yeah, I'm not bad. Our star turn has decided to get himself stuck in his car. But he was gracious enough to drop me a line full of apologies, and he is going to be joining us imminently. So he's rushing back to his house with keys in hand. So
I'm sure we can fill the gap.
Oh, don't you worry. I have a plan. Now, next up, we got the champ. How are you, Ellis?
Evening. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're very welcome, mate. No need to thank me, pal. Thanks are all mine. So, yes, as I said, Ellis, the big man is on his way. Any minute now, he's going to be popping up into the show, or so I hope. Joe Vincent, good evening.
Good evening, mate. Good evening, everyone. I'm buzzing for this tonight.
Yeah, it should be great fun. He's absolutely frothing, by the way. Spoke to the big man in person earlier today. We had a good 20-odd minutes on the phone running through what we're going to be doing, the sort of questions that he can expect from our beloved listeners. And he's told me, much like all of our other previous guests, he said, nothing's off limits. He said, so keep them rolling in. And by God, have the Swindon fans done just that. Who else we got? We got Michael. How are you, Michael?
Very well, thank you, Hannah. It's nice to be on here this evening. Buzzing the chat to Rush.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you. Well, listen, boys, to just pass the time until Rushian actually joins us online, I mentioned quite a few names there. I said, we do have a knack of delivering these incredible left field signings, kind of like signings out of the blue. Incredible pedigree. And some of those names that I mentioned, like I said, Digby, Fjortoff, Chrissy Hay, Mark Walters, Michael Carrick, etc. Who has been your favourite, if you want to say big name or big pedigree signing over the years since you've been following the club? I'll start with you, Ellis, as the baby of the group, and I say that with all due respect. Very large pair of boxing gloves.
That's all right.
Who's been your big sort of left field, big name, big pedigree signing since you've been a Town fan?
Hepburn-Murphy. Can I say him?
We've already started grovelling.
He's not even on the line yet, Ellis. He's not even on the line yet.
Wow.
You don't have to take it there just yet.
No. Could you say Harry McCurdy?
I think you probably could,
I'm going with him then.
And I think it's remiss of me that I've actually left him off that list, actually, the longer I think about it. Because the thing about McCurdy is much like there are some similarities, aren't there, Ellis, with Hepburn-Murphy's career in obviously Rushian also went off, played lower league, had lower league loans, moved around a little bit before he eventually departed over to Cyprus. So it wasn't like all plain sailing for Harry. And it's easy to forget that Harry was touted for absolute mega stardom when he was at Villa as well in his early days. So that is a fine shout. So Harry McCurdy for you. Let's get to the other end of the spectrum then. Another old guffer, much like myself. Chris, what about you, pal?
Am I allowed to say Michael Carrick or James Milner, or do I have to have a permanent signing?
No, I think that's allowed, I really do. And I'll tell you what, particularly when you think about James Milner, because I remember when Peter Reid loaned him to us, and it was all there was an absolute, like, I mean, he was already in the first team at Leeds. Do you remember, Chris? It was such a shock signing that we brought him in.
I think to be honest, the only reason we got him in was Andy King.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But it was just at that time when we got him, because obviously he'd played there. I think he made his debut for Leeds at 17, and we just, how the hell have we got him?
Yeah, it wasn't too further down the line. The late great Jimmy Davis also joined us, Chris, as well. I'm sure you'll remember him with great fondness.
Oh, very much so as well. And I was unfortunately working the morning when obviously, without going too much into it, when he passed away, and that was harsh as well, because you think, it wasn't that long ago I was watching him at the county ground, and he's 22, 23 when he died.
Yeah. And do you know what? I always got the impression as well. I know that Jimmy had gone off and ended up playing for Watford. But I always got the impression that our paths were going to cross again, and that I could see him, wearing a Swindon shirt again. He very much would have fitted this group, wouldn't he? I mean, he certainly very much does fit this group indeed, in terms of great players that have got that incredible pedigree and absolutely delivered for us again. So no, that's a great shout, Chris. What? How about you, Joe? Sort of like soaking up the middle ground.
I think one that I can remember really well, when he signed, obviously, he wasn't a household name, but looking into him, I thought, bloody hell, that's a cracking signing.
Yeah.
Was Lucas Margera.
Oh.
I don't know why, because he was a Czech international. Obviously, he was in the national team, or went around the national team at the time. A time where they had obviously like Petr Cech and Thomas Rosicky and players like that of decent pedigree. Obviously, it didn't work out particularly well for him at Town, but yeah, he was just a player that I thought, it's a really left field signing. And if you go talk about a season of left field signings, I mean, the Di Canio season was mad, because we had players like Alberto Ekamazzi come in. There were rumours of having was Materazzi rumoured, the Italian centre back.
Yeah, that was very, very true. Yeah, there were some big rumours about a lot of the kind of the aging Di Canio connections, weren't there?
I mean, Materazzi, yeah, I remember him being really heavily rumoured, and he won the Champions League the year before Inter. So it's like, yeah, that was a mad season. But I'll say Margera, but also a special mention to Johnny Williams, because that came out of absolutely nowhere, and he was, an established Wales international, played his entire career at sort of Championship, Premier League level, and I can't really fathom how he's at Swindon Town.
Yeah, listen, I'll make you absolutely right. I mean, again, he's another one, much like Harry. It would be very, very easy to kind of, overlook, and I'm not quite sure why I've done that. I'm doing the guy a massive disservice. Mate,
that signing, it was a joke. I remember sitting, I was in a restaurant actually, my phone buzzed, and obviously that was the first season where we weren't getting the BBC Wiltshire Understands tweets just before we were announcing a signing. Yeah. So that season, and then this season as well, it's really become just a lottery of signings. It makes it more exciting. And we've got a guest on now, and that was another one as well.
I was going to say, I feel really bad, but I kind of don't want to. Mike, I'm going to cut you off in your prime as the big man jumps on. We've kind of been sorting out our filler. Rushian Hepburn-Murphy, how are you, buddy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear, pal. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. Enjoyed your Twitch stream earlier.
Oh, cheers.
Mate, I'm still going to take you apart with a Dragunov, though. Don't worry about that.
We'll see.
There Rushian, you've missed your big introduction, pal. But you're going to have to listen back to the recorded show. I think a few of the boys have been listening to it. I'm sure a few of your squad mates are going to be teasing you about the grandiose introduction that we've given you this evening.
Oh, damn. Was it good?
Go
Hopefully
again,
it was a
Hannes.
good one. Was
Go
it a good
again.
one?
Oh, mate, it was a thing of beauty. It was a thing of beauty. I don't know what to say to you.
We'd love to hear it, man.
So look, I mean, first up, let's get this straight. Can you please pronounce your first name for us, please, Rushian, for the avoidance of doubt?
You say it perfect.
Go on.
Rushian
Hepburn-Murphy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because we've heard there's been many a variation, and I'm also intrigued because there's been a lot of speculation going around about it being an anagram for a very, very famous Liverpool footballer. Is there any truth in that?
No, but it's just by what's the word? It's just random.
Pure coincidence.
Pure, that's the word. Coincidence. Pure coincidence.
Well, listen. Secondly, Rushian, a nice surprise. So 488 days between your last two competitive matches, and you were back with a bang. To celebrate you being back with a bang, have you come across the gentleman that is Dan Designs, one of the club's official partners?
I don't think so.
Right, a big fan of McCurdy, you'll be pleased to know. Big fan of McCurdy, and I'm certain after you see this man's handiwork, he'll be a big fan of yours as well, and vice versa. He's so Dan Designs is one of the partners of our show, and also one of the partners of the football club. And Dan does a range of really, really lovely graphic prints celebrating certain moments. So I mean, there's so many of them. We could literally sit here and sort of, spend all night talking about his prints alone. He dropped me a line just before he's listening in tonight. He dropped me a line just before we came online tonight.
Yeah.
And said he's going to be doing a special edition print to celebrate your debut goal last night. Your semi-celebration, as he called it.
Oh, nice. I couldn't celebrate too much because obviously the score was 3-0 down. So it was bittersweet.
Mate, the look on your face said it all. I tell you what, I quite fancy you in a game of poker. It must have been like fireworks going off inside.
Oh, I wanted to do the most. I wanted to knee slide everything, but I just couldn't. Settle, get the ball back.
Listen, you held it together, Rushian. You held it together. Well, listen, tonight, I'll spare you the introductions just purely in the interest of time. But we've got a brilliant panel tonight. I've got Ellis, Chris, Mike, and Joe joining me tonight, Rushian. All right. So what's going to happen is we've asked the Swindon Town supporter base to send in their questions. We try to fit them in roughly around the sort of time that the show normally runs. You and I talked about sort of rough time frames earlier on today. So hopefully we've got enough questions to fill your evening up. They do range from the serious to the damn right bonkers. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm going to get the ball rolling, Rushian, if you're ready to go.
Yeah, no problem, man. Let's go.
Right. Well, the first question comes from Joe via WhatsApp. And Joe says, how did the move to Swindon come about, Rushian? What was your plan to always come back to England this season?
My plan was definitely to come back to England, not 100% to Swindon. It was just the fact that I was doing my rehab at a centre where Joe works, the head of medical. And then I was there for like 3 months, and then I did a bit of my rehab at Swindon. The gaffer said, listen, I can accommodate my rehab there. And then I just ended up signing there on deadline day.
Everyone has a lot of good things to say about Joe the Cairo. From your personal experience, what is it about Joe that sort of, for want of a better word, floats your boat? Because he's got a brilliant, when you see him around the players, he's got a brilliant relationship with the playing squad, Rushian. What is it for you?
Joe's just naturally a good guy, man. He's easy to warm up to. Like when I first went to his gym, he just said, just relax and just do the work that you need to do. And he was just friendly, man. Proper friendly.
And is it fair to say, Rushian, because I know that you said you sort of came out on your socials last night and talked about the fact that there were some very, very dark days when you had your problems with your hip. Obviously, you were told on 2 separate occasions it could be curtains for your career. Is it overstating it to say that Joe's played a really sort of important role in kind of sort of re-establishing your confidence, lifting your spirits and showing you the light? Or was there a bigger story to it than that?
Massively. Yeah, there was dark days. Obviously, was told that could be it, and then I ended up doing when I first went to do my rehab at Joe's gym. I basically told him that what the doctor said, and he was like, "No, we'll have you back playing in no time." And he was just so confident in it, and that kind of just lifted my confidence as well. So I just believed in what he said, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I guess we'll touch on this some more because we've got a few more questions relating to it a bit further on. I don't want to hold the limelight. Ellis, you've got the next one, pal. Do you want to move us along?
Yes. Evening, Rushian.
Evening.
This is in from Kev on WhatsApp. How gutted were you when you smashed your window in your house? Ha ha.
I knew this one was coming.
You might want to give us some context, Rushian, for those people on socials that haven't seen it.
I think everybody's seen it. I don't think there's not a person that hasn't seen it. Everybody that sees me always speaks about my window. I wasn't really gutted. I actually don't know what come over me to actually do it, to be honest. It was during COVID, so I think it was turning me a bit crazy. And I ended up smashing my window. And it turned out to be a joke on social media, and I didn't mind it, to be fair. It's funny.
So it was basically, you were keep me uppies, weren't you, with the football off the back of your house, and you basically you've laced it through one of the panes on your window.
The worst thing is I didn't even hit it that hard. So whoever done my windows in the first place didn't do a good job.
It's an upstairs window, mate. Nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, do you want to move us along?
Evening, Rushian.
Evening.
What's your go-to meal deal? This is from Ollie via Twitter.
Meal deal from where though?
Wherever, anywhere.
Tesco.
I've never actually had a meal deal from Tesco.
Brave, that's solid. That is a solid start. I think we're destined to get along.
We need to know the supermarket now. I think you can tell a lot about a man about his supermarket meal deal choice.
That is very true.
I've actually never had a meal deal from supermarkets either. I just have my mum's cooking, and if I do eat, I'll go like Nando's. And on the odd occasion, don't get mad at me about McDonald's.
I've had a Mackey's tonight. I think it's a good choice.
Are you a food snob, Rushian? Are you a food snob?
No, I just eat my mum's food, whatever my mum cooks, I have.
Yeah, fair dues. Well, it's all around Rushian's house then for a Hepburn-Murphy meal deal. I'm loving the sound of it. What's mum's specialty, Rushian?
Specialty, she can do many things, to be fair. But my favourite will be stewed chicken and rice.
You can't beat home cooking.
No, you can't, man. It's the best.
Curry goat with a nice side of hard dough bread for me.
Yeah, curry goat's up there as well, to be fair.
Oh, curry goat! I love curry goat.
Curry goat is up there.
Right, Mike. What have you got next, mate? You're going to take us on our travels with your question.
Yes. Okay. Evening, Rushian.
Evening.
So the next question is, what was life like at Paphos? Obviously, it's not the most conventional sort of football journey, but it takes balls to sort of back yourself and prioritise football and make that kind of journey. So yeah, what was life like?
Life in Paphos. I don't even know how to explain it, man. It was an eye opener for me not to go abroad again, to be honest. It was difficult, and the way they kind of operate is completely different to England. So when I went there and they were doing certain things, I'm like, hold on, this is not right. And I just had to get used to it. That's the way they do things over there. So yeah, it was good. It was a good experience. I think it helped me a lot. But I think England is where I want to be, to be honest.
Was it full time, Rush?
Say that again, sorry?
Was it full time? Were you in training every day?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was it that tempted you out there in the first place, Rushian?
Just an experience. It was just an experience. Having the option to go abroad and experience different type of football. I just wanted to do. That's something I've always wanted to do in my career. So
yeah,
I think it might have been a bit early for me to do it, but I've done it now anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, and you got off to a flyer, didn't you, on your first game? Was it you spanked about 7 goals in your opening game?
Yeah. First game pre-season, I scored 7.
Wow.
Well, we've got Charlie Austin coming on in about 10 minutes. He's been pulling up a few trees pre-season down under.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm sure you'll have a few notes to compare. What with the injury conversations, things like pre-season goal hauls and whatnot. He's had a busy week. What was there a particular, talking about food, Rushian? I love it out in Cyprus. Was there a particular meal that you were into? Did you get into the whole kind of, vine leaf culture, or did you, again, was it difficult from a food perspective?
Yeah, from a food perspective, it was so difficult. But I had Jason Poncham was in my team, and we're from the same background. So he's Jamaican, I'm Jamaican, and whenever he cooked or his missus cooked, he would put me aside like a plate of food and give it to me in training the next day. So he helped with that massively, to be honest.
Jason Puncham was looking after you. Good lad. So very popular around where I live. I live not a million miles from Crystal Palace. He's a big name around here.
Yeah, man, he's great. He was brilliant with me out there. Unbelievable, to be honest.
Well, speaking of brilliant characters, Joe's got a question for you.
I've got a question from Tyrese on Twitter. Now, I don't know if this is the Tyrese or just another of our brilliant Tyreses, but he's asked, can you do a backward somersault?
If you can, don't try one.
No, I can't actually, even on a trampoline, I can't bring myself to try and do a backflip because I just think of the worst situation. So no, I cannot do a backflip. I can do a front flip though.
If you can do a front flip and not smash a £1,000 camera, you've done better than Tyrese.
Exactly.
I'm just more concerned with injuries at the moment. All right, let's just not be doing any flips at all. No knee slides. We're going to wrap you up in cotton wool, big man. Don't you worry about that. There's nothing to worry about. And whilst we're wrapping you up in cotton wool, let me distract you with a Call of Duty question. It says, using stims and the gas in that final circle, is it sweaty play or pure skill?
It's sweaty, very sweaty. It's very, very sweaty.
There you go. There you go, Nathan on WhatsApp. I hope that answers your question for you. The man's got a little bit more integrity than you clearly have. Ellis, you got the next one, pal?
Yes, carrying on with the Warzone. Does Hepburn-Murphy agree that Verdansk is still the GOAT map?
Yeah, forever and always.
Good man.
Oh my God!
Easy question. That.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm so going to take you apart on COD. I can't believe it.
We'll see.
Chris, you're up next, pal.
Right, Rushian, this is one from Martin on Twitter, and he wants to know, what's the worst prank that has ever been played on you?
Worst prank that's ever been played on me? I don't think I've had a prank played on me, to be honest. I'm trying to think. Oh, actually, this happened in Cyprus. So we had a game and we had to be in, I think it was for 4:00 for our team meeting. And obviously one of my teammates texted me at 3:00 and said, "Where are you? We're all in the meeting." And in my head, I'm thinking, we're supposed to be in at 4:00. But as he's texting me saying, "Where are you?" I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I need to get in. So I quickly jumped out of my bed, had no shower, put on my training kit, put on my match day kit, drove to the training ground, and nobody's there. I was fuming. What was that? I was fuming.
That's an easy and a lazy prank as well. An easy, lazy prank.
It was good banter, to be fair. I was fuming.
Mike, you've got the next one.
Okay, so it's a bit of a interesting question. So it says, your boat capsizes. A hungry shark is circling you. Scott Lindsay and Jamie Day, so all three of you, right? There's only room on the dinghy for two of you, and obviously you're on a dinghy as well. Who do you save? Who's the shark's main course?
Wait, who's on a boat with me?
Well, by the looks of things, you're all in the water, but you've clambered aboard the dinghy. So there's only room for Scott or Jamie. So it's the gaffer or the assistant manager. Who's going to be? Who are you going to feed to the shark? And you're not allowed to throw yourself back in.
Oh, I think I might just leave both of them. I can't have that. I don't think I can save one. Yeah, I'm just going to leave both of them, to be honest.
I'm sorry, Gabs, via DM. He was never going to plump for one or the other, was he? He was never going to do that.
Leave Mildy.
Yeah. That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, Mildy could come in stage left and just saved a lot of you.
Yeah, true.
Rather expensive yachts. Joe, what have you got for us?
So up next, I've got one from Rob on Twitter. He's asked, or he said, as a striker that developed in the pre-VAR era, are you in favour of VAR at all professional levels now?
There are some good aspects to VAR and some bad aspects. I just don't like the way it slows the game down. Sometimes it can take too long to make a decision. But at the same time, it's very accurate, so it's only fair. But it takes away the... What's the word I'm looking for? It just takes away... I don't even know what... I think...
the excitement of celebrating the goal. You never really celebrate a goal, do you, anymore? Because you're waiting.
Yeah, exactly. It just takes away the excitement from it a little bit. Every time you score, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm offside. Or is VAR going to come into it? I can't celebrate too much.
When you're like offside, but like your nose hair, it's just a bit like, come on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like leeway, do you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
I'd be very, very, very interested if the powers that be would do like a fans referendum on VAR. Yeah. Because, I mean, I was all in favour of VAR coming in when it was about goal line technology and serious foul play. So, for example, like off the ball punching, like violence, things like that, and balls clearly crossing the line. All in favour of that.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I'm not in favour of like marginal offside calls and things like that, Rushian. I think it's really, really important, that the spontaneity in grounds is kind of sacred. Like that explosion of emotion and celebration is what makes football so special.
Yeah, exactly.
I do kind of wonder that we're taking something really critical away from the game. I mean, I genuinely feel blessed. I don't mean to be on my soapbox with this, but I genuinely feel blessed. I'm a lower league supporter in this respect at the moment. We haven't got to worry about it just yet.
Yeah.
But obviously it's pending, right? So it's going to be.
Maybe they used it as like some sort of review system, like cricket. Like each team's got 3 reviews they can use, or I don't know. Like there's been so many ones recently. Like was it Man United a couple of weeks ago where they got the penalty given against them because Lisandro Martinez has dived in, it's hit his knee, and then hit his hand. They're given a penalty, but it should be a pen, and VR didn't even check it.
Yeah.
Or Juventus, I think last week, scored a last-minute winner for an offside, and the VAR didn't look, and it was like a mile on because someone was sat in the corner flag.
Yeah.
It's the way it's used.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it works for you, you love it. When it works against you, you hate it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. A little bit like Harry McCurdy. Hey. So I've got the next one for you, Rushian. What was the best England age group you enjoyed playing in? And that's from AB on WhatsApp.
I played England at all age groups, and I think I pretty much had the same team from 16s all the way through to 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really play for any other age groups other than my own.
Did you feel that, was there a particular point, because obviously you were under 16s, weren't you, all the way, was it under 16s through to the 20s? Yeah, so was there a point where you kind of felt it was its most fun, like where you guys all grew up together? Was there a point where you kind of, it was like a golden period for you?
Nah, all of them was just as good as each other, to be honest with you. I think the best experience I had being in England was going to the Under-17s World Cup. That was an experience in itself. That was unbelievable, to be fair.
Yeah, vaguely. I mean, I vaguely remember the TV coverage. It's a shame that more doesn't get made of like the junior tournaments. I would like to see a lot more. Well, I suppose I'm doing a bit of disservice. There's probably more than I'm letting on, but I've got vague recollections of it. Tends to be the senior side and obviously my club side for me, but the juniors is something I'd like to see more of. What Ellis, you've got the next one, pal?
Yeah, this one's from Archie on Twitter. Did you play with any current town players at any point in your career?
Currently, no, but before I played with obviously Harry McCurdy, Jordan Lydon. I think that might have been it.
What was a young McCurdy like?
Exactly the same as he is now. So when everybody's complaining about McCurdy doing this and that, I'm just so used to it. It's exactly the same, and he's not acting in any way. That's just how he is. It's either you love him or you hate him.
We love him.
Yeah,
Is
we
it-
all love him here.
Is it fair to describe Harry as being zero filter?
Yeah. Honestly, Harry is such a good guy, man. Off the pitch, you can actually have such a long conversation with him, and he's just completely normal. But on the pitch, during football, I think emotions get the best of him, and he's passionate, man.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough that as a show we've had a decent bit of contact with Harry on air at the end of last season, and a fair bit off air as well. And I kind of mirror what you say, really. Like really, like genuine, like fun-loving lad, very sincere. You can see how from the outside it'd be very, very easy to get him wrong. You know, like misread him.
Yeah, 100%.
Chris, you've got the next one, pal.
Yeah, I think we've probably almost answered this one a bit earlier, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are you living in Swindon or do you commute in?
I'm commuting at the moment, but I will be. I'm trying to sort out an apartment at the moment, so I will be living in Swindon within the next couple of weeks.
And are you going to miss your mum's cooking?
Not at all. My mum's going to be cooking for me. I'll go home on the weekends and I'll come back up with a load of creative food for the week, so I'll be all right.
That's the right way to do it.
Absolutely outstanding. You're basically living my university life right there. I can't lie. Brings back some happy memories. Mike, you got the next one, mate?
Okay, so the next question is from James via DM. And the first question is, what was the first thought as you pulled up outside the county ground?
What was the first thought? I think the first time I pulled up at the county ground was the first game of the season, to be honest. I think there was over 10,000 fans there, and I was just like, wow. I mean, for a club that's in League Two, 10,000 people, 10,000 fans at a stadium is kind of unheard of. So I think that's what kind of made me want to think I want to play my football here. It was unbelievable.
Did you think it was like a decent atmosphere, like on the actual match day?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Do you still? So, Rushian, to me, every home game I go to, I still kind of feel the echoes of, you know, as far back as '93 when we were in the Premier League, and I remember that car park that, you know, we sort of take for granted now. You can just sort of put your car in there, like, you know, the people sort of, you know, walking around the outside. I remember that just being rammed full of fans, you know, like our own and the away fans. I you know, very difficult to get a ticket. The ground was always heaving. So do you so it's a bit of a weird question to ask, but hopefully you get my kind of romantic imagery. Do you still get the echoes of that? Do you feel when you turned up for the first game? You still get the sense that we are a big club?
Yeah, 100,000%. Most definitely. You can tell it's a big club. Not many, like I said, not many clubs in League Two will get anywhere near 10,000 fans at their stadium. So that in alone speaks for itself.
Yeah, here, untapped potential. Well, as I say, hopefully, I mean, we all get the sense that a touch paper's been lit. So, you know, hopefully we just keep that, you know, that forward momentum going, and 10,000 crowds will become a more regular thing. I think after there was obviously there's been a summer of change, Rushian, and there've been a lot of debate over the summer as to whether we're going to carry that momentum. I think for me, first game of the season, much like you, seeing 10,000 fans turn up is really reassuring that, you know, everyone's still pointing in that direction. So, yeah, long may that continue. Joe, you've got the next one, pal.
I do, yeah. So this one's come from Mr. Lewis Reed on Twitter. So Reedy's put a question in.
Has he really, though? Is that really him?
Well, I can only go by what I've got in front of me. So it's from Reedy as far as I'm concerned. He said, most talented footballer you've played with and the most talented footballer you've shared a pitch with?
Most talented footballer I've played with and most talented footballer I've shared a pitch with. That's the same question.
Yeah, so by the looks of that, it's on your team. Who's the most talented footballer you've played with on your team? And the second part of it, I guess, opens it up to the opposition as well.
Also, most talented football player at Swindon, basically.
Well, I think if we read into Louis Reed asking that question, I think that he's going to probably be trying to guide your answer.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking.
But I think you can be as open as you want on that.
It's a close one between Reedy and Johnny Williams, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Reedy, I think Johnny just takes it, bro. Now, most talented footballer I've played with has to be Jack Grealish.
You know, what is it about Grealish from someone that's been a teammate of him on the training ground, all the rest of it? What is it that I mean, obviously ludicrously talented, Rushian, but what from your perspective, what is it that kind of gives him that accolade in your eyes?
Oh, he's just some of the things you used to see him doing training and games is just ridiculous. Like, especially training with him and against him, it's like you just can't get the ball off him. Like, you see him do it on a match day, and you think, oh, he could have got the ball there, or he could have lost it there. But when you're actually in training, it's just like you actually cannot get the ball off him, and he's very deceivingly quick. It's crazy.
Well, speaking of deceptively quick, delighted to welcome Charlie Austin on again this week. How are you, Charlie?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, very well. Wait, well, listen, it was one of them funny nights last night, Charlie, where obviously it was the Papa John's Trophy. We've been beaten, but we were beaten by a very capable Plymouth side.
Yeah.
But there was one of them games where you've got quality players coming back from injury that you see go out and have a really good blow, and our special guest tonight has finally cast off some pretty serious sort of career-threatening injury concerns and scores a debut goal, Charlie, that made me that cast memories back to you and Carlisle, which will warm your cockle. So, Charlie, meet Rushian Hepburn-Murphy. Rushian Hepburn-Murphy, Charlie Austin.
What's going on, bro? You all right?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Congratulations on last night, mate.
Cheers, thank you. Appreciate it, man.
If ever there was a Charlie Austin style strike, Rushian, I thought that was it last night. So basically, you nipped in, didn't you? I mean, obviously they were messing about with it a little bit at the back. That when the ball skewed off the lad's head, you were onto it like a whip. It was a beautiful finish. Charlie, it was such a kind of natural move. I don't know if you've seen the goal yet, but when you see it, it really is a Charlie Austin style finish. You'll get it when you see it.
I've just seen it just before I come on. I just see it. Sometimes just instinct, mate. They're just instinct. You can't coach them. You can't coach that kind of do you know what I mean? It's just instinct, that kind of stuff, Mark. And hopefully, like you say, Rushian stays injury free and can get back and can get in the starting 11 for Saturdays and stuff, and basically help the town continue their run that they've been on so far and see the last two games. I told you last week they beat Doncaster. All right, I said 2-0, but I told you they'd beat them.
No one likes I told you so, Charlie. No one likes that.
Well, trust me, I'll tell you so, mate.
You're perfectly entitled to do that. You're perfectly entitled.
Well, it nearly was 2-0 as well, if that one from Johnny Astor had sneaked in the top corner.
Wow.
I don't know if you've seen that yet, Charlie. Basically, Johnny's wide right and just unleashes one from 35 yards, like proper dipper. And the keeper's managed to backpedal and tip it over the bar. But absolutely beautiful strike. But look, Charlie, I was going to get you and Rushian talking a little bit here because obviously Rushian's come back into the country. Obviously, he had a load of games when he was at the Villa. Maybe some might describe it as a bit of a surprise move out to Cyprus and then sort of encountered real serious sort of injury issues. I mean, throughout your career, I remember you encountering problems where, at one point, I mean, Hull as a prime example, where obviously they had issues with your medical and people sort of asked questions about your shoulder and all that kind of stuff. And you and I, particularly in your younger years, I remember you sort of talking to me about your frustrations with some of those injuries. What's it like as a pro sort of playing with either an injury that you feel maybe could go any minute or playing with an injury that you don't feel is a problem but other people think is a problem? What does that do for the psyche?
Mine's probably the latter one. I had two shitty ones. Shoulder got dislocated, so you had to get operated on. There's not a lot you can do. And then I tore my hamstring tendon, which put me out for 5 months. There's just one of them things you can't do. But the bigger thing is obviously my knee. Everyone thinks that when they see a scan, I shouldn't be playing or I shouldn't be doing this or you shouldn't be able to do that. So my body adapted to whatever the situation was when I was 15. And I've just managed to get on with it and done all right with myself. The problem you have is there's plenty of people that don't want to go through the pain barriers. People just play. There's a lot of players play with niggles. I don't think I've ever played 100%. Everyone's always got something going on, but it's how far you take them. You've got to just find a way of getting through it. Now, Sean's obviously had a massive injury and showed great strength and courage and character to get back to full fitness and in the situation he is now, knocking on the first team door. So full credit to him. I know it's tough and you're away from football and all you want to do is play and kick a ball, but full credits to you, bud, for coming all the way back, and I wish you all the success that's going to happen over the next season.
Cheers, man.
And I mean, boys, like Charlie, when you've had that kind of long road back to injury, I mean, Rushian's face, like we made light of it, Rushian, didn't we, earlier, that obviously you played a very, very politically correct card by not going too nuts, but I don't think anyone would have blamed you celebrating having gone 488 days without playing a competitive game of football. Charlie, that must sort of ring some bells for you when you've come back from long stints and you hit the back of the net, all that. Is it a question of all that doubt, just pushing all that doubt away, or just the relief? Like, what is it that goes through your mind?
Scoring goals is one of the greatest feelings ever. Do you know what I mean? They really are, and you can't ever explain that to people. But for being out for so long, do you know what? It's more for yourself, because when you score, like that feeling that goes in your body, like it's an amazing feeling. But when you come back for injury, you get that first one, the relief. You just kind of get that weight off your shoulder. And like I always say, you just get that, you're off that zero. No one wants to be on that zero for too long. So as soon as you get over it, do you know what I mean? So and last night he come on for his debut and scored. Like I say, that speaks volumes of the lad. Like, listen, he didn't. If you're honest, Mark, I know no one would have done anything if he celebrated and went mad, but I don't think he's that kind of character. I think he knows that inside of his head. Look, it was a situation, he scored his goal, but the goal was bigger than it being a consolation goal. It was a bigger goal for Rushian than what it was in the grand scheme of things. Do you know what I mean? Against Plymouth, the goal is a much bigger thing.
I'll tell you something for nothing, Rushian. I think the vast majority of Swindon Town fans that were in the ground last night, a lot of them, you were the big draw. Really, I know it's not the biggest crowd in the world going to the Papa John's Trophy, but there was a lot of people really keen to sort of see what you're all about. And I think most people, I know I certainly did, very, very quickly forgot the result at the end of the game off the back of you having scored. And there were a lot of people that were giving you man of the match off the back of your 30 minutes as well, mate. So you must have been delighted, Rushian, to sort of to have that 488-day break, to come back in and look at. I mean, your movement onto the ball when you finished was live wire. I mean, again, Charlie was saying that's instinct. I mean, that's obviously muscle memory for you, but just for that all falling into place, how satisfying was that?
Oh, it was unbelievable, man, because like 2 weeks before in training, I just felt so rusty, and like, because I've been out for so long, like my brain was telling my body to do certain things and my body just couldn't do it. I was making like stupid errors, like 5-yard passes I was missing, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm so way off it. And then the game yesterday just kind of boosted my confidence through the roof, man. Yeah.
Well, you two have got something else in common as well. So, Charlie, your pre-season's going very well. We talked with Rushian earlier about his first pre-season game when he went out to Paphos, and he's not shit. Was it? Get me right here, Rushian. Was it 7 or 8 goals on your debut?
7.
7 goals on your debut. Well, Charlie, at the weekend, obviously, you guys tucked 8 past Roachdown Rovers. You scored and got an assist. Now, come on, mate. You've only got the 6 to go, mate, to top Rushian there. But,
mate, no.
You called it, Charlie. You said that they weren't going to be the best Oppo, and you've absolutely blitzed them.
I'm not even counting that. That wasn't even a game of football. I'm not even counting.
Well, what sort of level was it, Charlie? Give us a flavour. Was it
dog and duck?
Oh, dog and duck, right?
No, they weren't very good. They just weren't very good. And their season finished like 3 weeks ago, so I don't understand why we're playing these teams. But we got Sydney United at the weekend, A-League team, which will be a good test for us, and then the season starts. But it'll be all good, and we'll soon see how we're getting on when that gets going.
Yeah, proper test, because a few people have been saying on Twitter today, like, the A-League pre-season does seem to be dragging on, mate. I mean, we've been doing this show now, we must be 5-6 weeks in now, Charlie, and we've still been talking about your pre-season, haven't we? Pretty much non-stop.
Yeah, I've been here 10 weeks.
Wow.
I've been here 10 weeks, mate.
Well, at least you plenty of time to get yourself fit, mate. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, that is very, very true.
Aye. Well, you know, have you got wider media duties today, Charlie? Are we your only
Yeah.
port of call, mate, or you got plenty on?
No, plenty on. I've got to do this. You now, Talksport 8:30, Optus at 10. Try and be a dad from 10:30 onwards. But no, all good. Honestly, all good. Well, hopefully you can continue the run on Saturday. The back-to-back wins, great. Hopefully, you can go again Saturday. And listen, hopefully, it just gets to the point at the club that they can continue winning, brings the fans back, gets the enjoyment and the positivity back. Because, like we said, over many weeks, there has been silly negative comments and negativity towards certain people, which is probably uncalled for and not needed. So, look, them 2 results that has happened so far have been brilliant, and hopefully it can build on that Saturday going forward.
Yeah, literally, no doubt, Charlie. And I think, I'm not just saying it because the big man's listening to us tonight and taking our questions, but we've got a player in Rushian and a couple more boys. I mean, Morgan Roberts made his debut last night. He's another one that was getting people off their seats. We've got some real depth in forward areas now, as well as midfield was never going to be a problem for us this year. We've got some real depth in midfield. We talked about that last week, and indeed we've got some real depth at the back. So, Charlie, I genuinely think what I've been seeing the last couple of weeks, things are starting to click. So, hopefully, mate, you've called that right. Let's have a prediction from you then, Charlie, and then we'll let you go.
3-1.
Yes, I like the sound of that. All right, then, buddy.
All right, mate. Listen, you take care. Rushian, nice to speak to you, mate. All the best.
Yeah, man.
Season, all right, mate.
Cheers, thank you, bro.
Take care. Love as always, Charlie. Take good care, pal.
Take care. Bye, mate. Bye.
Ta-ra, mate. Hey, there you are, Rushian. So sage words from Charlie. I mean, I genuinely do mean it. I wasn't just being convenient. I'm sure there's probably, I don't know whether there's many Town fans tonight that would have sort of connected some of the similarities with your starts to your Town career. But yes, mate, really good to get you guys connected. Always a treat for Swindon fans to see sort of current players having a chat with a previous club legend. And who knows, may see him back in a red and white shirt at some point. Might be a teammate in a couple of years, Rushian, all being well.
Possibly.
Quite possibly. Well, look, what else we got? Where did we get up to? So we had...
It's you up next, thing, Hannah's?
It's me up next. So, Rushian, who from your old Pathos teammates would you recommend to Swindon Town? Now, I appreciate that's going back a while now since you played for them, but were there any particular players at Pathos that if you had the opportunity, you put a word in?
Oni Valakari. What a player.
Was Oni Valakari? Whereabouts was he from? Was he Cypriot?
He's from Finland.
Uh-huh.
He actually played in the Euro qualifiers against France, and he scored and smashed it in the top corner.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to have to kind of try and do some homework on that. But we've got potential. I'm sure Les Caffrey's listening. Les, mate, do. Get a deal done, big man. Ellis, what you got for us?
Next one is in from Amph on through DM. Describe what went through your mind as you latched into the loose ball versus Plymouth last night ahead of your goal.
I just felt like it was just fate, man. Just from the mistake at the back and then the ball just dropping there and me pouncing onto it. It was just like, this moment has just been coming. And I just thought to myself, just please score. I was thinking, keeper, please don't save it. And I just tapped it and it went in the back of the net. And it was just a big relief.
Must have been so satisfying.
Yeah, because I had I had one chance before that and I had another half chance as well in that game. And I missed both of them and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to score it. And then when that one just dropped in me, I was just like, I have to take this.
Do you know what? It was a weird one, Rushian. I managed to grab a vantage point from the Town end last night. And you're watching your movement, it just seemed like you were always able to kind of like drift that extra 2 or 3 yards off the back of, I think it was they had a young centre-back. And you just seemed to have his number. Like you just kept on sort of drifting into areas where he wasn't picking you up. And I was turning to my daughter saying, he's going to notch. I had absolutely no doubt. I was like, you keep plugging away and one's going to drop for him. But and so it proved. But as my daughter, as my witness, Rushian, I had unshakable faith that was going to happen with you last night.
Thank you.
And you also stung the palms of Hannah's as well.
Yeah, that's the chance I was talking about. The first one when I just came on the pitch, I think it was my first touch, and I just rushed it, man. When I looked up and I seen it was just me and the goalkeeper, I was thinking to myself, "Oh, I need to shoot." When I had way more time than I actually thought I did.
Chris, you're up next, pal.
All right, Rushian, then. It's been a long road back for you, obviously, with a fair bit of time off. At the moment, how far off peak powers do you feel you are?
Quite some time, to be fair. I know I've been back training and whatnot, and I played my first 30 minutes, but I'd been out for like 488 days, and that's a long time to be out to pick your fitness up that quickly. So I feel like I've got quite a bit of time in me to reach my peak.
Well, obviously in the league, the intensity is going to be a fair bit more than it was last night. When you think about how much time can you play in a league game when the pace is that much quicker?
I'm not too sure, Just like it's just building again. Like I played 30 minutes yesterday. Well, yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Played 30 minutes yesterday. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I'll take it up to 45 minutes and then maybe 60 minutes and then so forth.
Yeah. Out of like 100%.
You'd like to get about 20, 25 minutes maybe on Saturday?
Yeah, something like that, hopefully. Obviously it's a league game, so it's a bit more serious and depends on the state of the game and stuff, so we'll see.
What sort of percentage would you say you're at the moment out of 100?
Probably like 55.
Oh man!
Bloody hell!
If you're pulling off performances like that at 55, I can't wait for 100.
I say 55 because I came on in with 30 minutes to go. I ran my bollocks off for 20 minutes, and in the last 10 minutes, I was gassed. I was so tired.
Mike, you got the next one?
Yes. So the next question is from Ashley via Twitter. And it is, what is the greatest moment in your career so far?
I'm making my debut, 100%. Making my Premier League debut. By far, the best moment in my career.
So what kind of feeling was that actually, like getting onto the pitch and seeing the fans?
You know what? I actually don't remember how I felt. I remember tell a lie, I didn't realize how big of an achievement it was until a few years later.
It just sort of hit you, sort of like after the fact. You sort of look back at it and thought, actually,
when I look back, I'm like, oh my god, I made my debut when I was 16. That's actually mad.
It's huge.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what, Rushian. Joe's got a question along similar lines, but probably on steroids, I would argue. Joe, go on, mate.
I do. Just before we get there, actually, I was looking at Oni Valakari. Did you know he was born in Motherwell in Scotland?
No.
Yeah, that's random, isn't it?
That's very random.
Basically, he's Scottish and plays for Finland.
That's weird. That's a weird one. I didn't know that.
Anyway, my question, the good stuff. So Rachel via DM has asked, what goes through your mind when you hear the national anthem being played and you're stood there with the 3 lines in your chest?
It's just pressure, innit? Wearing the England top in general is just pressure. When you just stand there and you hear the fans singing the national anthem, the players next to you singing the national anthem, it's just pressure. It's kind of like you feel like you're carrying your whole country on your back for them 90 minutes of football that you're playing. But it's a good feeling, man. It's unbelievable.
I can't imagine the pressure. I mean, like, obviously, the Euros last year, taking a penalty in the final in the Euros with the 3 lines in your chest in front of 80,000 people, millions and millions, if not billions, of people watching you.
Yeah.
My legs would be like jelly, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no nation, Rushian, whose fans travel as well as England as well, like in terms of numbers. I mean, I was very, very lucky to go to Germany, but unfortunately saw Portugal dump us out on penalties. And then I was out in South Africa in Bloemfontein when the Germans beat us, when Lampard had obviously scored, but you know, well, we go back to VAR with that one, won't we? But I can't help but think. I mean, both of those games, the conversations in the stands were, you know, I remember turning to people and going, to what extent does this huge crowd and all of these expectations and all this pressure on these lads, you know, because I remember the Portugal game in particular, they just had a tiny little corner of fans, whereas we filled the whole stadium. It was kind of similar in Bloemfontein as well. I mean, from a pro's point of view, Rushian, like that's a tough one, isn't it? Because like you just said, it's pressure, but it's a good feeling. But at the same time, like, I can't help but think that links into some of the issues that we've had with penalties and things like that. You know, like the pressure must be unbearable pitch level.
Yeah, I couldn't reiterate what they must be feeling taking the penalty in the Euros final. I can't speak on that, but yeah, it's just pressure putting on the England shirt and playing in big tournament footballs. Obviously, I've never played in anything big as the Euros or the World Cup, so I can't really tell you what they're feeling. But from my own perspective, yeah, it's definitely pressure. So for them, it must be pressure and 100 times worse.
Oh, blimey. Well, listen, I've got a question for you. I've got the next one for you. This is from JD via DM. And JD says, I think I know the answer to this. What's your best fan encounter, Rushian? And I know the answer because I've been on your Twitch feed and I put the same question to you, and I'm pretty sure you told me.
When I was on loan at Tranmere, I think we played. Who did we play? I think it was Rotherham away, and I think we scored to win the game or equalised in the 90th minute. And one of the fans ran on the pitch and just kissed me, mum. He literally just grabbed my face and kissed me. I was like, okay.
And do you remember what happened to said fan?
No, I think the security guard just grabbed him when he went and sat back in his seat. That was it.
Yeah, I kind of right. There's your challenge, Townend. Although, mind you, maybe not, given the guidance that's come out from the FA about pitch incursions. Now you'll get yourself I don't know whether a big giving Rushian a big sloppy kiss is worth a year's stadium ban. But hey, you better be a good kisser, Rushian. That's all I can say. Ellis, you got the next one?
I do. This one is from Michael via DM. Mentally, it must have been such a battle to stay positive and believe in your ability to come back at the same level that you were at before. How have you coped with being injured for such a long time?
I think I just got to give thanks to my family, really, because I think they believed in my ability more than I did. Well, not necessarily my ability, but believed in the fact that I would come back and play more than I did. And just when I sat down with the doctors and they were like, "Yeah, this might be it. You might not be able to play football again." If it weren't for my family, I probably would have just packed it in there and then.
Yeah, so just having that person like sort of pushing you on and keeping you going through it.
Yeah, it was my mum mainly, man. My mum was there when I had my operation in Italy. She was there for my second operation in England. She was there throughout the whole of it, and she just kept me going, man. So I gotta give all the thanks to her, to be honest.
Amazing. Yeah, can't do without our families. What's Chris, you've got the next one, pal.
All right, Rushian. What is your pet hate about football? That's from Rich on Instagram.
My pet hate about football? I don't even know, you know. Probably the fans sometimes. When things are going well, the fans are unbelievable. When they're not going so well, they can be a bit spiteful.
Yeah, we know that all too well.
Probably that.
It must be really difficult, Rushian. Like, how obviously you guys benefit from having you're able to kind of like circle the wagons, aren't you? Sort of, be insular in the changing room, keep yourselves to yourselves. But at the same time, I mean, take for example Swindon this year, and we've been on our show, we've been real beneficiaries of the club really kind of opening up the communications channels. Whereas last year, Ben Garner kind of had a real tight rein, and there wasn't a lot that came out of the club. I guess I see pros and cons on both sides of that. Like, if you're a pro, like sort of being almost like, I don't want to call it siege mentality, because I don't think that was the case last year necessarily. But I mean, that as a pro must be a real benefit, right? But at the same time, it must be a bit like you sort of love. I get where you're coming from with fans. I don't even want to say you love to hate the fans, because it's not that, is it?
No.
It's like you so feed off of the noise and the atmosphere that we create and the backing that we create. So it must be heartbreaking when it goes the other way as well. Like, you know, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you go about dealing with that as a collective?
You just gotta stick together as a team, to be honest with you. I mean, like, take it with Swindon. I think we drew the first, was it three games, 3 or 4 games, and the fans weren't happy. The fans wasn't happy, but in really and truly, it's not. There wasn't bad results. Okay, we might not perform to the best of our ability, but they weren't bad results. Like, you would take a point away from a bad performance from the team, and it's not like we lost 3 games in a row. We drew 3 games, and it's the fans were booing and stuff, and you know, it's I don't understand why it was so negative. And from three draws, you can build on that and turn them into wins, which we have done. We've got 2 wins in the last 2 games, and we haven't lost since the start of the season. So
I think what a lot of our supporters are sort of coming round to is that there has been sort of slow and sort of steady progression from the first game of the season, Rushian.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things, I've said this to anyone inside Swindon Town that will listen. I mean, I've been a fan for best part of 35 years, getting on the wrong side of that now, much like Chris. And it's we as a club. If there is a club that has had more sort of size 9 straight to the proverbials, it is literally us. And I could go back to like 89, 90 and sort of, talk about getting promoted to what is now the Premier League and then getting demoted a week later for illegal payments to players. I could go back to us getting in the Premier League and then losing Glenn Hoddle, like pretty much on the eve of the new season kicking off. I could go for it even more recently. I mean, there's so many stories. The way we lost to Canio sort of sat really uncomfortably, but even with the way we lost Richie Wellens, COVID striking just as it looked like as a club. We kind of turned the corner on our way back. We had a manager that was brilliant with communications with the fans and so on and so forth. So, and then COVID kicks in. It seems that we are, at sometimes like we've just had the most wretched luck. So it's very, very easy to get down on us. All I would say is that, try to never lose sight of that. Like, it's with our supporters that it's almost like if something's too good to be true, like it usually is. But that's sentiment on steroids. But you guys have got the power, I think, to just completely flip that on its head, and help everyone just sort of banish it. And I think you're starting to see that off the back of Saturday's result. You are starting to see the tides turn this season for sure. Because what are we now? We've had 3 wins in 5, boys. Correct me if I'm wrong, haven't we? And unbeaten since the opening game of the season in the league. So, yeah, to your point, Rushian, really. Anyway, look, I'll get off my soapbox. Listen to me. I get a lot of criticism for trying to be so positive all the time. What's right? What we got next? Mike, you're up.
So it's questions from Kelly via DM. It's kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, but the question is just say something inspiring.
Oh.
On your worst day, you live like someone on their greatest, which is my favorite quote.
Oh, say that just once more for us.
On your worst day, you live like someone on their greatest.
Oh, man.
That's tattoo worthy.
I live and die by that quote. I heard that quote. I can't remember when, but ever since I heard it, it stuck with me. And whenever anybody asks me a question like that, that's my go-to.
Right, I've got to find a little place for that somewhere on our Twitter bio. That is a magnificent quote. Magnificent quote.
I feel like going on a run now.
Yeah. Joe, take us away from this philosophical land and into distinct Swindon Town fandom question.
So we're jumping off the sort of serious questions here. SN via WhatsApp has just asked, what's your favourite cheese?
I'm not really too sure about cheese. I'm going to go, cheddar cheese? I think that's the only, mature and cheddar cheese are the only 2 I know. I don't really know the names of the rest.
Standard.
I see a lot of this West Country cheddar love. I can't help but think you're playing the crowd, Rushian. Hey, Rushian, James Van, all the way from Florida, is on. And James is saying, Rushian, his mate, Irides10, at Irides10, was at Ammonia FC when you were at Paphos. He spoke nothing but high praise of you. What was your experience like playing in Cyprus, Rushian? Well, we've already sort of talked about that, James, but I'm sure that Rushian is over the moon to hear that he's got people from Ammonia FC saying nice things about him from his time at Paphos. Is that someone that rings a bell, Rushian? Do you know who we're talking about there?
What was the name again?
He's tweeted, mate, if you want to go and have a look, and you've been tagged on it. His name is Irides10. So I'm going to guess that was the number 10 for Ammonia, potentially.
Alex Irides.
Alex Irides.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that name does ring a bell, actually.
Hey, there you go. So he speaks really highly of you, pal. So you've
Nice.
certainly left friends over there. It's a question from me, Rushian. So come back from injury aside, what's your greatest against the odds story? And that's from Matt on Twitter. So taking your comeback from injury aside, what's your greatest against the odds story that you've had so far in your life or your career?
Greatest against the odds story. I don't know. You know, it's a tough question.
That is
a really tough question. I'm gonna have to. Oh man, that would take me about 10 minutes to answer. I'm gonna have to think.
Can I mean, look, I'll say you sort of touched on something earlier, Rushian. I don't mean to kind of feed you an answer, but I'm guessing you talked about your Premier League debut. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna say that, but I was trying to think of something different because I've said that already.
Yeah, because I mean, just in terms of numbers, like, I mean, I know it's like a little bit of maybe it's a little bit cliche, but to just think about the sheer number. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember having trials, and I remember the goalkeeping coach at the time, I think it was Gillingham and Maidstone, and they both said similar things, like basically, don't get your hopes up, like dream, but don't get your hopes up. And my son was released from West Ham when he was 10, and it was all pretty brutal stuff. So but getting an insider view of those lads and all of their families and all the hopes and pressures that these kids are going through from such a young age, to think that you get all the way through, and like you said, it's almost, I guess it almost becomes sort of the norm, and then 5-6 years later you look back and go, wow, like that was pretty special. I mean, I would imagine you came across some interesting characters that put that kind of message in your head as you were going through the ranks. Yeah,
no doubt. I think I thought of another one while you were speaking there. When I was at my Sunday League team, I think I was about 7 or 8, and then West Brom scout came to watch, and he offered me a trial at West Brom. I went on trial, didn't get in. I was there for 3 weeks. They said no, and then I went back to my Sunday League team. Then I got a trial for Villa. And then my first game for Villa was against West Brom, and I scored a hat-trick.
Yeah, lovely job.
So I think that's one thing I'll always remember as well. And then then West Brom were asking for me back, and I was just like, no, staying at Villa.
Nice. A full-on baggy basher. Hey, listen, on our team, Rushian, we've got our resident champion boxer, Ellis. What are you now, Ellis? You're 4-0, aren't you?
Yeah, 4-0.
So only you're qualified to ask the big man this question.
Yeah. Big question in from Harry on Insta. Fury or Joshua?
Fury.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah.
Every day of the week. And not even just because of Joshua's last couple of performances. I just think Fury is he's just above the rest, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally agree.
He seems like a good bloke as well, Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Say that again?
I say, he seems like a good bloke.
Yeah, he does, to be fair.
Chris, you got the next one?
All right, Rushian. In the lounge, we do love a good song. So, what is your initiation song, and have you sung it yet? And we'll give £50 to a charity of your choosing if you sing us a verse right now.
Yeah.
May I just add, we had Tyrese on last week, and he declined the offer.
Oh,
hang on. Tyrese
number one,
next to inspiration as well.
I actually don't have an initiation song yet, and I haven't done one. So I think the first initiation song you do is on your first away game, overnight stay and away game. So I haven't done one yet, and I actually don't know what song I'm gonna sing. So that's not me. That's not me declining. That's just me saying I actually don't have one yet.
Well, all right. Listen, I'll tell you what. We could potentially let you wriggle out of this, Rushian, as long as you promise to come back on further down the line in the season and give us a sing-song.
All right, no problem. That's the deal.
I can't. Why do I know you're going to do that as well? I have full faith in you doing that.
No, 100%.
Full faith. Tyrese is a shy boy in comparison, isn't he?
Yeah, just a bit. If I had an initiation song right now, I would do it right now, but I actually don't have one yet. So,
Mike, you've got the next one.
I've got the next question. I just wanted to mention really quickly as well. I used to play American football, and I was playing American football at uni, and we had to do initiations on the first away game as well. And I did a duet with another one of the cornerbacks, and we sang the Pokemon theme tune. And I've got to say, that was a smashing performance, man. The crowd loved it. So I'm hoping for a similar performance. But the next question we've got is
crowd play.
Yeah, exactly, man. Everyone loves a bit of Pokemon. What was this one's from Darren via WhatsApp. What did you buy with your first football paycheck?
What did I think with my first football paycheck, my mum told me to start paying bills in the house, so I think that was it.
Oh, I've got to meet your mum, Rushian. She's an absolute ledge. Has she been coming to game?
Yeah, she came to the game on the weekend. No, it's yesterday weekend. What about yesterday?
I've got to meet Mrs. Hepburn-Murphy. She sounds like an absolute ledge.
Yeah, that was my first ever expenditure, should I say?
Very responsible.
You had to clear the bills. I like the sound of that. Joe, you've got the next one.
I do, yeah. So Charlie via DM has just asked, what's your favourite holiday destination?
Oh, I've never been, but I want to go to the Maldives. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Every picture I see of it just looks unbelievable, man.
No, 100%. Yeah. Did you go away this summer?
Nah, I was doing rehab, unfortunately.
Okay.
So hopefully I can go next year.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what you can pay, what you can buy with your first Swindon Town paycheck, Rushian. You can take the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge out to the Maldives. We don't mind if you want to get that booked. We are slaves to a good sponsorship deal. What?
Maybe you and the boys can go to the Maldives as a promotion party next summer.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea, but I think we need to go with them.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I don't think if it's a promotion party, I don't think we'll be going to Maldives. I don't think we'll be going there.
Malia.
No, that certain Australians have got very deep pockets. That's all I'm going to say. What's it won't thank me for that. So next question's my one, which is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received? And that's from Ben via WhatsApp.
Best piece of advice I've received some very good advice over my years being a footballer, but the main one is just be humble, man. That is the main one for me. And never forgetting how you started. Just be humble. Being humble goes a long way, man. Because nobody likes arrogance. Arrogance can be good in a certain sense, but just be humble is the main thing.
Do you know what? I was very, very lucky in that I was able to work in football for a period of time, and a great guy and a great quote he gave me. Rio Ferdinand said, "Confidence with a hint of arrogance. Every great player's got to have it." And that really chimed. And he was so normal as well for a guy that had got the number of England caps, the number of big transfers, all the wealth in the world. So humble. So humble. And I know people have opinions on Rio Ferdinand, but I can only speak as I found, and I just found him like really normal. What a great guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Shameless name drop on my part. Ellis, you got
Yes. Well, I've got two, as I've just got a DM from Dan on Twitter. And he has asked, are you an Xbox, PlayStation, or PC man?
PlayStation.
Good man.
Purity.
Right.
Yeah.
That was that question. And on to the next one. And you might want to answer this very carefully. This is from Clara on Twitter. Clem Morfuni or Scott Lindsay arm wrestle? Who are you betting on?
I'm gonna go Gaffer, man.
You going Scott Lindsay?
Yeah, 100%.
Ooh.
I've seen Clem's arms, man.
I think he just edges it.
Yeah, he's got. You know what he's got. He's got a little bit of that Medway spirit about him. I think if Clem starts to like have him over on the table, he's going to like be swinging the old toe under the table or something. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, I think you're right there as well.
I think he's got that about him. A little bit of shithouse and the old arm wrestling stuff.
Most definitely.
Yeah, that's what he's got right there, and he'd do it with a wink and a smile as well. Chris, you got the next one. We're on the anchor leg. You'll be pleased to know, Rushian, we're what we got? We got about 3 or 4 of these left, mate. So we'll try and make them good ones for you.
Yeah, no problem.
This one comes from Tom, and he says, "Isn't it true that Australia are shit at cricket?"
Australia cricket. I actually have never watched cricket in my life. I don't understand it. I actually just don't. Cricket's not a bit of me.
Australians are generally crap at most things. It's fair to say, Rushian. Would you say?
Yeah, no comment.
They don't make good chocolate. You know, they've got a silly accent. They're not very good.
They can run a football club.
Yeah, they can do it. They're very good at running a football, and they're very appreciated as well.
To be fair, Australia's got some good UFC fighters at the moment, actually.
But they call rugby football.
He's towing the party line, this boy, isn't he? He's towing the party. He's seen right through it.
No, I watch UFC a lot. They got what's his name? Whitaker. Is it Whitaker? I think.
Yeah, Whitaker, good fighter.
Yeah, yeah.
Ellis is talking about fighting again. I'm not getting involved.
Sorry.
Volkanovski as well.
Volkanovski. Yeah, how can I forget him as well? Yeah.
Mm. Are you a scrapper, Rushian? Have you ever had a fight?
No comment.
Is that part of your? Well, I know. Look, you don't go out on the football pitch like looking to sort of like get involved. But if it goes off, do you tend to be like one of the? Are you a lover, not a fighter? Are you in there sort of like pulling people apart, or have you got a little bit of the reedies about you?
No, I'm in there like swimwear, man.
But Mike, move us along.
Okay, so this one's a bit of a follow-on from the last question. So, isn't it also true that kangaroo is a daft animal?
A what animal?
A silly animal.
Oh, mate.
Like kangaroos.
To be fair, going off fighting and you just come up with that question is a bit ironic, but no, I don't think daft. I wouldn't want it with a kangaroo, to be honest.
Have you seen that video of that guy like punches the kangaroo to save his dog? And honestly, that must be the bravest guy in the world because kangaroos are huge.
The kangaroo had his dog in a headlock.
Yeah.
Rushian, would you back yourself in a fight with a kangaroo?
No chance.
Rushian,
his kangaroo's biceps are bigger than my head.
Rushian, would you rather fight a chicken-sized kangaroo or a kangaroo-sized chicken?
A kangaroo-sized chicken, yeah. No. Wait, no. Say that again.
A chicken-sized kangaroo or a kangaroo-sized chicken?
A chicken-sized kangaroo.
All day, you can just boot it.
I can just cook it, no?
Stick it straight in Rose's head.
Yeah, 100%.
Put it straight through your window.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, what we got next? All right, so we've got a fairly sensible one here. I'm kind of enjoying the kangaroo banter personally, but Joe, what's yours?
So Nick's asked on WhatsApp, which team did you support as a kid?
Liverpool.
Oh, I'm leaving.
Chris, you didn't like that one?
No, not a fan, mate. You can change that, don't worry.
Rushian, I would have loved it if there was some truth in this Ian Rush thing. I would have absolutely loved it. I would have gone, I'm really, really loving that. But you're telling me there's literally nothing in that?
No, it's just coincidence.
Oh, it's amazing. And
my dad supported Liverpool, so I've just always supported Liverpool.
Were you aware of that? Were you aware of the anagram, Rushian, growing up being a Liverpool fan? Did you ever make anything of it? Or is that something that you've only just recently come across? Or
I think I've come across that when I was like, I think after I made my debut, somebody tweeted it, and I seen it. I was like, oh yeah, well yeah.
If we ever drew Liverpool in the cup and you were playing against them, is there anything in your mind that's thinking like, I don't know, like what would your mindset be? Like, just another game? Is
Yeah,
it
just
like
another game until before and after I'll be like, oh my god, but during it's just another game.
I'm told, Rushian, I've spoken to a few pros that have said when they play against a team that they supported or a team that they've been very, very close to, like as in they played for them and they had a really great affinity, that it actually, when you're on the pitch, it actually fires you up even more. Is that fairly standard?
I'm not too sure. I've never been in that situation.
Mm.
I mean, if it was to draw like Liverpool or Villa in the cup, then maybe I'd be off to tell you. But as of now, no.
Yeah.
which would be more special for you, going to Villa Park?
Villa Park.
Are you looking?
Are you
looking forward to Tranmere, Rushian, a little later in the season?
Yeah, 100%. I want to see what reception they get from their fans.
I tell you what, I'm going to wet myself if he jumps out of the crowd and kisses you again.
Mate, I've not seen any bad opinions from Tranmere fans about you. They literally will love you.
Oh, fair enough then. Fair enough.
Yeah, right. What we got here? So the next one is me. So this is anonymous, but from where is this? No, this is anonymous via WhatsApp. Though, where did you grow up? And that's from a number ending 466. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Aston. I went to Aston Manor School. I grew up around there.
So a Brummie lad.
Yeah. Birmingham lad.
Ellis, you've got a penultimate question for Rushian tonight.
I do indeed. If you could make one change to football to improve it, what change would you make?
To improve it?
Ooh. Yeah.
If I could make one change to football to improve it. Ugh.
Tricky question.
Yeah, very. Make the pitch smaller. Let's run in, man. Pitch is too big, man. Yeah, probably. Nah, football's perfect as it is. You can't change football. There's nothing you can change to football. It's just perfect as it is, man.
And yet every year the powers that be seem to find a way to tweak it or do something to it every year. I mean, as a goalkeeper, I played in an era where the back pass rule was brought in, and that kind of made sense to me. But that was just a classic example of these changes that come in. I mean, there's always rumours that throw-ins are going to be dispensed of, aren't they? And they're going to start having you're going to start having kick-ins and whether they be daft, wouldn't it? Absolutely.
I don't think that would wash with the fans. No chance. That would never stick.
I agree. That's the thing. Remember when Arsene Wenger as well? He's always got loads of new ideas as well. Obviously, after he finished with Arsenal, he joined FIFA, and he keeps coming up with just really weird ideas about how to change the game. Strange.
Do you remember when we brought in the spray for the referees to use for free kicks? In the first season, or the first few weeks, the referee gave a free kick and put the disappearing spray onto the pitch. Fans cheered it like a goal. That was a weird time.
Yeah, it was a bit bizarre.
I love the way the lads in the wall as well all sort of edge forward with their toes and were trying to rub it out and encroach on the line. They sort of packed that in now, haven't they? I think that's an automatic yellow now, isn't it, Rushian? If you're caught doing that.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't. I don't see what more we can change. We've got VAR now. There's what more? What more can you do to football?
No gloves on goalkeepers.
Something like that. Wearing boots on hands.
So I'll find you've been a brilliant sport, an absolutely brilliant sport, Rushian. You've not ducked a single question. You've given us plenty more time than I thought we'd probably share with you tonight. But Chris has got your final question of the night.
I've actually got two questions to end the night with.
Nice, lovely. Make it a good one.
The first one of these comes from Jacob W on Twitter. Who is the best driver in car school?
The best driver? It's gonna have to. It's me. There's four of us that commute from Birmingham. There's me, Hutz, Reese, and probably the person who asked you the question, and Jacob Waken. And I'm gonna go with me. I'm the better driver out of the four of us.
I think Jake disagrees.
No, of course he disagrees. If you knew how that guy drives, I think you'd all agree with me.
How does he drive?
No, mate. Oh, he's like he don't care about anybody in the car, to be honest. I kid you not. Kid you not. The first time I got in his car, as soon as he put his foot down, I put my seatbelt on straight away, and I was in the back.
You get his car with a helmet on.
Yeah. He drives his car like he plays the game. Who got their head around out of you four? Who got your head around the magic roundabout the quickest?
Are you talking about the 5 roundabouts by the stadium?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Oh mate, my first encounter with that roundabout was I didn't know what was going on. I think my sat nav was confused.
Just close your eyes and hope for the best.
4 cars.
I didn't know. I just didn't know where to go. It's so confusing. But yeah,
It's a time. It's easy.
It's over. If you overthink it, it's curtains. What's our final question, Chris?
Well, yeah, the final question for you, Rushian, is red suits you. Laugh out loud if you hate Oxford.
Yeah.
Clips.
Yeah, clip that one.
Yeah, we love the clip from your Twitch stream. Shoot if you hate Oxford.
Yeah.
You're welcome, everyone.
Rushian, you've been brilliant, mate. Before we disappear, have you got any questions for us?
Do I have any questions? No, man. Just enjoy this season, man. It's gonna be a good one. I have a good feeling about this season. It's gonna be. We've got some great lads in that changing room, and we can go the distance this season 100%. I believe that. So that's it.
Well, listen. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I'm being polite or towing any kind of party line or anything like that. But you've got a great pedigree, Rushian. You've been through some really, really tough times over the last sort of 18 or so months. You've had a good smattering of games from the at the Villa. You've seen football at the very, very top level. If your view of the changing room and the lads that you're training with gives you the entitlement to say that to us, then I think that's the sort of comment we should all be sitting up and taking notice of. So thank you ever so much for your time tonight, pal. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. It's a pleasure being on.
I'll see you at Grimsby on Saturday.
You shall.
And I'll see you on your stream, mate, where I'm going to be trolling you rotten.
Yeah, I'll be live tomorrow.
All right, Rushian. Well, listen, mate, we've got plenty more left on our show that we've got to hack through tonight. You are more than entitled to hang around and have a listen in, or indeed, I appreciate you've got an early start tomorrow for training, buddy. So it literally just goes from all of us on the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge. Thanks ever so much for joining us, giving us such a generous chunk of your time, buddy, and best of luck for the weekend and for the season remaining. And hopefully we look forward to inviting you back on again sometime soon.
Cheers, thank you. I've got to go change nappies now. I wish I can stay on the same, but yeah.
All right, buddy. Take care of yourself, Rushian.
All right, cheers. Thank you.
Ta-da, fella.
Bye.
Oh, what a top lad. Mike, as you know, as somebody that obviously sees a lot of the lads in and around the club, sort of moving about from your position in the Legends Lounge. Just what a gregarious character. Like really good fun, sort of hour and a half with him, wasn't it?
100%. Like those kind of characters in a dressing room, in a changing room, it makes all the difference. You know, it seems like the group of lads that we got are really focused, and they believe in themselves as well, and so they should. So yeah, really excited to see what they can do.
Yeah. Joe? What is? I mean, he kind of dealt with our questions tonight, Joe, in the same way he dealt with that half chance last night, didn't he? Really, he was very, very. I don't know, just really slick, really earnest. Just very genuine guy. Like, didn't disappoint, did he?
No, 100%. It's really nice to chat with a few of the boys from this season's squad, and genuinely, we've chatted on and off air to most of the first team squad, and they all seem like genuinely really nice blokes. All under the same impression of the squad's good enough to compete at the very top this season. Everyone's positive. We've started performing on the pitch, started to get to each other, gelling on the pitch and stuff. It's just good to see. It's nice to go from having a season where we've had playoff disappointment going into the new season, and if you look, I'd compare it to sort of 2010, 2011. Similar expectations are needed to compete after playoff disappointment. That season, we probably had, I don't want to be cancelled by saying it, but probably a group of, there were a few, what's the right word? Bellends? I don't know what to say.
No, you speak fine, mate. We're after the watershed, so
yeah, I can't say it any other way. Like, it was a toxic environment, I think, and you've heard people like Simon Ferry and Paul Caddis talk about it. And it's just nice to go from setback in the playoffs into the new season, having a dressing room that seems to be as well gelled and excited as this current one is. Yeah,
I think that's a fair one. I mean, Ellis, what's your frame of reference, mate, in relation to this squad? Because I mean, like Joe's saying, you're privy to a lot of the conversations that that we have with people. The nature of those at the club. When we go about setting up these interviews, the players coming on themselves. I mean, it's not like they don't come to us with a whopping list of of riders here. It's not like they're literally saying, right, I'm not going to talk about this, I'm not going to talk about that. They literally just come to us and go like, yeah, like I'm up for it. Like I'm not going to shy away from it. There's always like the kind of suggestion that obviously if they can't answer a question, they're just going to be honest and say I can't answer it. But I don't think we've even been in that position, have we, so far this year?
No. I mean, everyone that's been on this show is being sound, like Wakelin, Shade, and obviously Hepburn-Murphy today. All of the lads, they've just, like you said, have just been willing to answer anything, and they all seem like real genuine guys. So I from the looks of it, and after I can't remember what game it was now, the last home game, all gathering round together, sort of celebrating the win. Yes, it just shows that the whole team as a whole is sort of unified, and they're working together to sort of to get results.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, with your journalistic sort of hat on, as we talk about, the kind of flow of communication coming out the club this year versus previous years. I mean, it's literally gone from famine to feast, doesn't it? And why wouldn't you engage with with the fan base? Like why wouldn't you? I think it's a very obviously our show sort of came into being, I think probably about 3 or 4 weeks. Was it 3 or 4 weeks before the Man City game last year? But we were still creating content amongst ourselves, and I think the pipe dream was always like, yeah, hopefully at some point, the club will, be open to having conversations, and they, it's like we've, they'll say the floodgates are open. I think they're just very, very willing to come on and have like honest conversations direct with fans. I mean, let's not forget, we are, if you look at us tonight, look at the 5 of us tonight, we're just fans, just like everyone else that's listening into the show tonight. And even if you want to be cynical about the sort of questions that that we put to these guys, they're still talking to 5 supporters, right? They don't know what's coming, so it's. And I think like I said, Chris, just sort of appealing to your sort of like journalistic sensibilities. I mean, it's just good quality comms 101, isn't it? To to have your squad willing to talk like this.
Well, it is something very much so there that it goes both ways, and it benefits you both to have that good relationship going both ways, because they need you and we need them, and the more open and whatnot you both are, the better it is.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked, didn't we, with Rushian? I was sort of giving him some reflections, Chris, over, I mean, you and I, our sort of fandom goes back over a similar period of time. And if we're ever going to kind of completely heal those wounds of like, some of our, more ropey times in Swindon Town history, if anything, our club has always got to be like completely open, hasn't it? Like that has to be its mantra. Because because of some of the things our fans have been through, I think we are probably the most likely amongst a lot of supporters in the Football League to take a cynical view on things, or just fear that something's going to go worse. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure you join me, Chris, in urging the club to make sure that they don't let the current sort of, not just for our benefit, but just for the sake of sort of fans' mentality, like just don't let that ever drop.
Yeah, I think the thing with the openness and transparency, I think some people are wanting much more than they really need to do, because we don't need to know everything that's going on at the club. Some of that we don't really need to know. Yeah. But there is some parts, and I since Clem and the team took over, we can't really complain about how open they've been. I mean, look at all the people that have come on. Would that have happened even like at the top end with Rob, Clem, and Sandro? Would that have happened under Power? Not a chance. Not a chance.
Hey, listen, do you know what, Chris? It's very true. And the one thing that I want to stress, we said it tonight. I mean, one of my biggest frustrations with doing our show is that, I often say to people, like, send us a speaker request, like, fire your questions in. We want to ask you questions. If there are people out there that got kind of like, a glass half empty view as opposed to my sort of perennially glass half full view, I would stress that, the whole premise of our show is that, you've had an open invite. Like we had it with the show where we kind of called out, all of, when we were being horrendously trolled, like we had a show, we said, well, come on and talk to us. Like the show's wide open and it's live, crucially. So, I don't, for the club to commit to a show of our ilk, and be willing to come on and have players and management come on and speak, I think speaks volumes. Obviously, we're never going to please everyone. We can't, we haven't got it's not like we're the silver bullet here, but yeah, I think, like you say, Chris, I think we're doing all we can. But look, let's park all of that, because
one thing before we go there, just a point I want to make actually from I remember from my experience at Doncaster on Saturday. There were at certain times within the Sutton game, there was a bit of, with Scott having a run in with the crowd, Angus MacDonald and whatnot. And when we went into the ground there, I don't know where it came from, but there was a group of people that started that Scott Lindsay chant, and it just took off, and everyone bought into it. And I thought, oh, that's brilliant, because it's obvious from the bit of the dodgy thing that came from Sutton, where there was a bit of, whatever you want to say, it was a bit of bad blood there, to then turn to that. And then to him come over and love the fact that we're singing his name was just great to experience.
Yeah, and he commented on it, didn't he? So I think you're right to sort of make that point. And hey, listen, I mentioned that show when we were having a particularly difficult time. Results weren't great, and like anything in football, when results aren't great, things can turn septic. We're not the only fan base that reacts like that. But for me, it just feels like we are a little more hair trigger than most. But I'll tell you what was really interesting was the volume of messages that I received in my inbox from supporters sort of using words like, they feel like they're part of a kind of silent majority. And I wonder whether there was a little bit of that at play at the weekend at Doncaster, Chris, where, you got a lot of people that, maybe don't pipe up, maybe don't feel that they can turn around and shout people down at grounds for whatever reason that is. And they just chose to make their voice be heard on Saturday because, like you said, it was spontaneous, wasn't it? And you saw the impact of it. I don't think there is a Swindon Town fan out there, even amongst the most negative. I don't think there is a Swindon Town fan out there, especially given some of Scott's post-game comments, that doesn't want Scott to do well. And I think ultimately, fundamentally, you know what? At the end of the day, we just got to keep winning football matches, and a lot of it will fix itself. But equally, I think the club have got to continue to communicate the way that they are, because there is a much bigger healing job that goes a lot deeper than I think some people actually appreciate with our fan base. And when I glanced around, I was in the town end against Sutton, and when I glanced around at a lot of the dissenting voices that were turning on the gaffer, I did notice they were all of our sort of age group in terms of the ones that were shouting things. And then it seemed like the younger fans were following on from that. But a lot of it was triggered by guys that were in their 40s and upwards. So
it's interesting you say that as well, because I was when I was at the back at Doncaster, and I don't know if Luke, who's listening now, because he was stood beside me at the time, there was a bloke in front of us about the same age who had no time whatsoever for Angus MacDonald because of he allegedly shouting at someone in the town end. And it just completely written him off. And I don't understand that.
Mm. Well, like I said, at the end of the day, you know, for people like that, at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to silence that level of criticism is winning games. Some people are only interested in winning games, and I mean, it's complex, isn't it? You could go as far back as saying, well, like, obviously in the 80s and 90s during our golden era, we won a lot of football matches, and we were spoilt with some of the names that passed through our club, and that warps expectations as well, Chris, doesn't it? But hey, listen. We can't please everyone, and I think that's the thing. It's like, let's not allow ourselves to get weighed down by the minutiae. If the vast majority are on the right track, let's stick with those guys, shall we?
But win games, and there'll be less and less voices.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Exactly that. Well, listen, obviously, I mentioned at the start of the show, obviously, this time yesterday, we were pretty much we'd wrapped up our Papa John's Trophy match coverage. Quick summary of the match. So a tidy start from the Swindon Town boys, but sort of lost our way after a very bright and tidy first 10-15 minutes in my eyes. Tactical changes in the second half saw Town ultimately become, if you will, sort of dominant out on the pitch pretty much across the board, albeit trailing 2-0 at half-time. As the substitutions were made, one of the things that was really encouraging was that the substitutions didn't appear to weaken the side, which you could argue they did against Crystal Palace. I thought Anton Dworzak in particular requires a bit of a special mention. A lad of very, very tender years, but what a performance that young man puts in. And obviously tonight's guest, Rushian Hepburn-Murphy, came off the bench and looked absolutely electric. And I was chuffed to listen to Low Strangers earlier today and hear Dan Hunt give RHM man of the match. We didn't do that, and we'll come back onto that. But I totally agreed with his thinking and his justification for doing it. So the game kind of went a bit like this on 28 minutes. Will Jenkins-Davis. There was a heavy deflection after Ellis Iandolo lost position. The ball got worked back into the box. Kieran Brennan slid in to attempt to block a goal-bound shot. The ball's cannoned from Kieran Brennan back onto the attacker, flew into the bottom corner for 1-0 Plymouth. And then 2 minutes later, Oscar Halls, another of Plymouth's 17-year-old starlets, scored with an absolute beauty of a header. Fantastic cross. You could argue Romeo Hutton could have got a little bit closer to the guy to prevent the cross coming in, but a beautiful cross from just in front of the Don Rogers, headed back across goal by Oscar Halls, and the ball's dropped agonisingly into the top left-hand corner of Sol Bryn's goal for 2-0 Plymouth. On 87 minutes, Ryan Hardy made it 3-0 Plymouth. A really swift counter-attack from Plymouth Argyle, with Hardy cutting in on the left-hand side, out-muscling Tom Clayton and smashing the ball into the bottom right-hand corner of Sol Bryn's goal. The moment that sent us all home, though, with smiles on our face, was tonight's guest, Rushian Hepburn-Murphy. So basically, Plymouth pressed self-destruct at the back. Let's just be honest about it. They failed to clear the lines from their own throw-in. There was a ricochet, I believe, off of Harvey Fox, and then a failed hacked clearance on the edge of the box that looped up and back into the 18-yard box, spun wickedly off a defender's header as he's attempted to put it back to the goalkeeper, and Hepburn-Murphy was quickest to react, darting in behind the Plymouth back line and finishing clinically with his right foot. So I thought, boys, we'd spend a little bit of time just having a run through the lineup, really, and give it some ratings, because we didn't get a chance to do it last night. It's always difficult straight after the final whistle, because the kind of game and all the highlights are still sort of like settling in your mind. But I don't know who wants to start. If we start with Sol Bryn in goal, I mean, for me personally, I don't think he could have had any. I don't think he had any chance with any of the goals. Joe, how did you see Sol Bryn's performance last night?
Yeah, he didn't do much wrong. I think, yeah, like I said, the goals, wasn't really much he could do for him. Made a couple of good stops to his sort of low stops in the second half. Distribution was okay. Yeah, he had a steady performance, just one of those.
Yeah, so it's kind of a tricky one, isn't it?
Give him a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. A solid 6 out of 10. Mike, Chris, Ellis, you all quite happy with that, I'm guessing?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. 6.
All right, 6 for Bryn. And then obviously when the lineup was announced, Joe, you were obviously following the game remotely, but you announced the lineup for us, and we were really, really surprised by the quality, or if you will, the seniority of the lineup. So, and Romeo Hutton, obviously, I know we're not exactly spoiled for choice as right backs at the moment, but potentially he could have gone with Ellis on the left and played Devine as a left-footed right back, but he went with Romeo Hutton. Me personally, I thought Romeo had a half decent game.
I was to say, I thought Hutton, for me, was probably our best player. Some of those crosses he put in were very, very good. And early season as well, I was probably critical of him, that his crosses were just hitting the first man. But over the last couple of games, some of those deliveries, if we can just get a few more people in those positions, your Wakelins and your Jeff Cotts, who've got a bit more striker nous about them, they can start getting on the end of those, because there was some really good crossing.
Yeah, I think you could argue that he's probably one of our most improved players from the start of the season. If you compare his performance from the first game of the season to last night's performance, he's like a different player, really.
It's amazing, Ellis, isn't it? As somebody like yourself that has to go in sort of grueling training camps, it's amazing what a bit of competition does, isn't it? To focus the mind.
Yeah.
Obviously boxing's one-on-one. When you're going for a position on the pitch, a specialist position like right back, and you're vying with another right back. Obviously, the club have gone out and bought Marcel Lavinier in, who's a very, very accomplished right back at this level. Has got a brilliant pedigree at Tottenham, being coached under Jose Mourinho, being singled out by Mourinho as a real player for the future. Obviously, it didn't quite work out for him at Spurs, and he's found his way down to Swindon Town. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing what a bit of competition does, Ellis, isn't it?
Yeah, and like realistically, I know you've got training, but you've got 90 minutes, if that, if you're being subbed off to impress the gaffer. So you haven't got long, and you need to put in a good performance. And one bad pass, or a player just gets past you, that could cost you your place in the squad.
Well, I mean, listen, for me, I mean, just to round off on Hutton, I sat in the stands and said, and I think I said in the post-match show as well, that Hutton for me was one of two choices for man of the match. On reflection, particularly having listened to Dan Hunt's sage words, I would have probably gone one of three choices for man of the match. But he was certainly one of my two choices immediately post-match. So. But at the same time, we still got gubbed 3-1 at home. So it kind of feels remiss of us to be putting anything other than a 7 on. But does anyone want to campaign for anything greater than that?
I'm happy with a 7.
I don't think, to be honest, I don't think anyone was probably above a 7, but Hutton was definitely a 7.
Mm. And yes, John Saunders, indeed. Yes, Sol Bryn was indeed in goal. So John Saunders said, that shocked me, that. I've been on my deathbed this week. We'll get well soon, John. Sorry to hear you a bit poorly, mate. But yes, it was Bryn and not Bran in goal. As many people were expecting Conor Bran to make his debut last night, the gaffer went with Sol Bryn. But all right, so we're going with a let's say a high 7, shall we? To be fair to Romeo Hutton, high 7 for Romeo Hutton, a right back. On the other side of the pitch, we had a competitive debut for Reece Devine. Mike, what did you make of Reece Devine coming in at left back for his first competitive start for Swindon?
Yeah, it was all right. I feel like at the end of the day, when you're coming back from some time off of football, it's always going to take a little while to sort of shake off the rust, do that type of thing. As Chris said, I don't think anyone in the team was particularly above maybe like a low 8 or a high 7. But yeah, he got stuck in. Few decent moments, few bad moments. Personally, I'd say it was around about some similar sort of level 6 to that's what I'd rate as 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be a little bit harder, Mike. I thought Reece was actually really decent in terms of sort of getting up and down. I thought he showed really good fitness. I think it's a shame because the big centre back who got the jump on I say the big centre back. He wasn't a centre back, was he? The big chap, Oscar Halls, the big 17-year-old that got the header on him. Obviously, he got the jump on Reece Devine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So appreciate an attacking header, depending on which what side of the fence you're on, whether you're an attacker or a defender, whether you'll believe this or not. But an attacking header, you seem to be able to gain a lot more momentum than a defending header in that situation. So it's quite hard on Reece. But some of his end product wasn't absolutely fantastic. You could see he was a little bit ring rusty. I am tempted to give Reece a 5, but I'm open to people appealing that.
I would probably agree with a 5 as well. And going back to that header, when you're going back against someone who's coming forward, the guy coming forward's always going to win that.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? It's just the way the body's built. It's one of those things. Unless, of course, you're Tyree Shade and you can do a backflip by going feet first, which still flummoxes me. But hey, that's a whole different conversation. So unless anyone's going to appeal that otherwise, we're going to slot a 5 on for Divine. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah, all good.
All right, and then we've got so Tom Clayton. Tom Clayton's an interesting one because one of our he's come from nowhere this season. Liverpool's not exactly nowhere. Big signing for us in terms of his pedigree, but I don't think people were expecting him to become our de facto choice as a left-sided centre back so early in the season. He's become one of the first names on the team sheet. Really calm, really assured, lovely use of the ball, great talker. That's the one thing I picked up from Tom Clayton last night, by the way. Whilst the stadium was a lot quieter because there was only sort of just over 2,000 fans in the ground, you got a real flavour as to who the big voices were on the pitch. And Tom Clayton is a big talker for a relatively junior lad, which was brilliant to hear. What do we make of his performance? Who wants to chip in? Joe, did you have an opinion?
Go on, Chris.
I'll go on then, Joe.
Jump in.
I was going to say there, the one thing mentioning Clayton is I would have loved to see him play in the Louis Reed role because that's obviously what we thought is his best position. And but obviously, then did we have enough defenders to cover that? But I would just love to see how we could have played in that defensive midfield role.
Yeah, played at the 6th. Brought in Keane Harries if Harries was around.
Harris was suspended.
Wasn't sure why he wasn't the best.
He got sent off
he?
in the
I thought
last
he went to
round.
the-
It's self-contained.
Yeah, but I thought. Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I suppose if you do that, then you're probably playing youth teamers, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, me personally, I was scoring Tom on last night's performance as I had him down as a solid 6. I mean, certainly he was out-muscled on the third goal. Ron Hardy managed to power past him, get the finish away with Solbrin. You could have sort of hoped for. I mean, he wouldn't have bought it. I mean, if he had given him a tug, it's a red card, and you didn't want to see that. So there's no way that was going to happen. Yeah, I would say a solid 6 for me for Tom Clayton.
Clayton was Clayton. He wasn't any better. He wasn't any worse. He was just as solid as he's been all season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And all right, so we'll go with solid 6 then for Clayton. Listen, Joe, it's interesting you were saying about Chris, rather. You were saying about Tom playing in the holding midfield role and Keane Harries, but obviously Keane Harries, whilst he was suspended, Kieran Brennan came in last night, and certainly he was kind of does what you expect Kieran Brennan to do. Really, put himself about. I think he won his fair share of headers. Steady if unspectacular. One of those lads that is probably a little bit of a victim of circumstance, because when I hark back to the Woking game pre-season, and I looked at our lineup across the back, Kieran Brennan, you almost felt like he had been sort of slotted in as an absolute shoe-in starter for Swindon Town this season, and then obviously we've now brought in Angus MacDonald. Keane Harries isn't in the side at the moment. It couldn't have been last night because he was suspended. But Tom Clayton, like we keep mentioning him, has turned himself into the choice to partner either Matt Bowdery or Angus MacDonald at centre back. So poor old Kieran Brennan, a very, very capable centre back, really well thought of for Sheffield Wednesday, but he's struggling to find his way into the starting lineup. But it didn't do himself any harm last night. Steady if unspectacular. I gave him a 6. What did you guys give him?
Well, the one thing about him as well is obviously he's been derailed a bit by the concussion and the coming back of that. But we saw in flashes at what he can bring. Now, I would agree with a 6. We saw at times his defensive. There was think once late in the second half, there was an outstanding block he made that was a surefire goal. And some of his passing was pretty decent. So I'm guessing now, if McDonald's out for a bit, Baudry will probably come in, and he's next in line.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's almost the way this seems to be shaping up is like you kind of got Baudry as the understudy for the skipper. And then you've also, it kind of feels like Brennan's your understudy now for Tom Clayton, rightly or wrongly. But equally, I'm sure that you could mix and match those players anyway. I mean, isn't it brilliant that we've got that depth in the centre back positions? We mentioned Harry's already. His suspension is now served, but you've got obviously McDonald, Clayton, Brennan, Harry's. Boundary. It's just brilliant to have that depth, and we're starting to see a squad where we've got depth all over the park.
We've got at least 2 decent players in every single position.
Yeah, which is how it should be, right? But then obviously in years gone by, it costs money to have, that, as an option. And if you think back to Richie Wellens' period as gaffer, Richie was big on trying to recruit players that could play in multiple positions so he could have a smaller squad. At the same time, there's always a little bit of a feeling, well, that probably held back players like Ellis Iandolo because his versatility became a real problem for him. I would imagine if Tyree Shea was playing under Richie Wellens, that potentially would have held Tyree Shea back because we've already seen some of his versatility used this year when we've got that depth. Tyree has said he feels his best position is wide left of a front three. Cutting in and getting shots off. And I think, you just want to kind of see him kept in that position. And I think we've seen better performances from him since he's been in that spot. But like I said, but ultimately it costs money. And I guess, we talked about the owner earlier, putting his money where his mouth is. Well, obviously, the wage bill's gone up this year, reputedly 40% up. And, hopefully now people are starting to, truly believe that that's where your 40%'s gone, right? In that depth. So, but anyway, listen, we'll move on into the midfield. So we had a midfield three. We had Saidu Khan, Ricky Aguiar, and the returning Ellis Iandolo. Let's start with Saidu Khan, who wants to give a synopsis of his performance because it was lovely seeing him putting himself about. Saw some lovely touches, but equally some frustrating moments as well. Joe, what did you make of Saidu?
Yeah, I think obviously Saidu is a great friend of the show. He's our super Gambian. We love him to bits. I don't think it was his best game last night. Might have been a bit of ring rust, potentially, just playing 90 minutes. He probably did well to escape maybe a second yellow. There was one sort of towards the end of the second half. Obviously, he's on a yellow card. And I think him and maybe Ellis had a few nibbles at Ryan Hardy, about sort of 30 yards out from our goal. I think if he goes down on Saidu's one, it's probably a second yellow. Yeah, I don't think he had the best of games, to be honest. He put himself about. The effort was there, but maybe just lacking a little bit of quality in the attacking third. And then, yeah, I think he was lucky to probably stay on the pitch towards the end of the game.
Joe, Saidu still feels to me like he is a performance vehicle. Sort of, he's got 6 gears, but he's kind of stuck in fourth. Does that make sense? So we're still seeing plenty of endeavour. We're still seeing plenty of potential. He's still. You can see he's got like the fans on side. Like you can see there's a proper player there. But like last night, I was just willing him. There was a moment where sort of there was an opportunity that had opened up in front of the town end, and I was just willing him to unleash one. I get the impression he's going to be one of those players that when he finally bangs one in the top corner, his confidence is just going to explode. Like I don't like to use the word imposter syndrome, but I kind of wonder whether that's sort of playing part of his psyche at the moment. Whether he's still finding his feet at this level.
Yeah, 100%. I was about to say before you said that as well. I think, if and when he bangs one in from 30 yards into the top bins, I think he'll just go off. I think all he needs is that one moment to, do a knee slide or to just jump in the town name of the fans and really have that sort of the thrill, the adrenaline boost. I think that happens. I think he kicks on.
Yeah, I make you right. I mean, I gave him a high five on last night. He certainly could do better, and I felt dirty doing it. But how did you find him, Joe?
I'd probably go towards 4 from honest, mate.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I love Saidu. I love it, but yeah, he can do better than that last night. But he's just finding his feet. It's probably the first time he's played 90 minutes for us, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, all right, fair dues. Anyone else want to chip in on that? So Joe's gone really harsh on a 4. Chris, where did you put him?
I would probably put him somewhere between the two of you, really, to be honest. I thought he was lucky to stay on the pitch after a couple of niggling. Did he have the armband on, actually, after Ellis went off?
I think he did.
Yeah, but it certainly wasn't his best game. But I would say somewhere in the middle with... it was a bit there rather than great or bad.
All right, so you've gone 4.5. Joe's gone with a 4. I've gone with a 5. How about you, Mike? Where did you put Saidu Khan last night?
Yeah, I agree with what the rest of the lads are saying. And unfortunately, it wasn't his greatest performance. Personally, I put it as a 5 because I still think there are moments like it's one of the best aspects of Saidu's game, in my opinion. He carries the ball well. Like whenever he receives it, he always tries to progress it forward, with his dribbling, and he had a few good moments of transition as well. But yeah, few bad moments as well, losing possession, misplaced passes, that kind of thing. So yeah, 5 for me.
Right, 5 for you. And how about you, Ellis? How about where did you score? How did you score Saidu? Given I want to get one from all of you tonight on Khan, given that we've got a dreaded 4 on there. So what did you think?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. He had a few glimpses of good runs forward, like dropping the shoulder, and that's something that he's quite good at. But yeah, just overall, like with almost sort of getting sent off, the possibility of it, and just a few, you just want up to his best performance at the end of the day. So 5, I think.
All right. Well, I think across the board, then he just about nicks a 5, which I hate to see players having 4s next to their names. I just don't think it does anyone any favours. So I'm pleased we've managed to just about get him over the threshold. Clearly, it's important to be honest, but I personally didn't see him as bad as a 4. But how wonderful was it to see Ellis Iandolo, 8 seasons in a town shirt? And Ellis Iandolo back from injury. Who wants to go about Ellis? I mean, I'll start by saying it was just brilliant to have him back, and it was brilliant to have him back. And I mentioned earlier about his versatility. It was just brilliant to see his versatility, not have him dragged back into a left wing or left back position last night. I was over the moon to see him in the position that at times last season helped him become a first name on the shirt, forced a really, really good save from the Plymouth goalkeeper, but then equally a little bit of ring rust has probably led to him getting a yellow card for a pretty cynical foul as Plymouth broke on us. You could argue that he was at fault losing possession for I think it was the first goal. Someone might have to correct me. So, for that, I had Ellis as. I mean, I was just chuffed to see him back. So initially, I gave him a 6. Then I was like, yeah, probably a low 6, high 5. But I've settled on a 5 for Ellis on last night's showing. But to caveat that's a low 5 on the basis that is a guy's first competitive performance this year. It was just good to see. Great to see him back in action.
Well, one thing I'd like to say about that, Hannah's, there was in terms of his position. He was sort of playing in that defensive midfield role. I think he's probably better as an actual central midfielder ahead of that. Because I think he played there against Tranmere and he had a terrible game. But then later in the season, when he was actually part of the more further forward midfielders, and he was absolutely brilliant. So I think he's going to be better further forward.
He was given license to get forward, though, wasn't he, last night? And I mean, Louis Reed's been given license to get forward. Yeah. You can see them both getting into advanced position. I mean,
he popped up quite often, like in forward areas on the left, and put a couple of decent crosses in. And like you say, he had that decent shot. But it's first game of the season and whatnot, so you've got to give him that leeway for that. It takes time to get up to speed. Same as like we were saying with Divine.
Yeah, I'll give you that. What were you scoring him at, Chris?
I'm stuck scoring him as a high 5.
High five. How about you, Joe? How are you scoring Ellis after last night?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with Chris. It was obviously it's going to be a tough game coming back from injury, like he has done, to start the game and play as many minutes as he has as well. I think it's commendable. Obviously, we heard Rushian last night talk to Andrew on the BBC, and he said that in his 30-minute cameo after his period of time out, he was absolutely done for a third of it. So yeah, fair play to Ellis. He did well. He held his own.
Yeah, it was just like I said. I mean, for me, just fantastic to have him back. Stick a score on it for me, Joe.
5.5.
5.5. That seems fair. And Ellis, we'll round off with you on Ellis. Ellis, what did you think?
Well, I got to give him a 6. I got to stick with him for the great name. But as you guys have all said, it was his first game back. And I think his general performance was quite good. Obviously, it was disappointing that he gave away, sort of led to that goal. But I think as an overall game, it was a good first game back for him.
All right, so I think we've settled on a pretty solid. Well, it's certainly a 5, but it's just missing out on a 6 and across the board, and then making up the midfield triumvirate was Ricky Aguiar. Now, for me, Ricky got my man of the match last night. I thought Ricky was really busy. I thought there were some lovely touches, some really wonderful moments of skill. Late in the second half, in particular, where he's managed to scoop it over the centre half's head. Get round the centre half, retrieve it. Unfortunately, got full start for a corner, but the invention was there. The excitement was there when Ricky got on the ball. He was getting me bum off the seat. I certainly think that I don't know whether he's done enough to be sort of like essentially demanding a place in the starting lineup at the weekend, but he is. It's an interesting one because. Yeah, he's got it in him to come into this side and make a difference at this level. But it's just a case of who is he going to displace. And I can't see him being an automatic choice to displace or to replace Johnny Williams. But that said, I'm sure in his mind, he'd be going, well, that really should be my big opportunity. But there is that competition in the squad. I gave Ricky off last night's performance a 7. But I was saying it was high 7. What did you guys see, Ellis? Let's start with you. What did you think of Ricky's performance last night?
Yeah, it was good performance from him. I think you were bang on with what you said. Some good balls over the top, and it was just nice to see him actually get a decent amount of minutes. Not just coming off the bench. And obviously with Johnny being out for the international break, that position is now sort of competitive. So yeah, it was good to see him sort of have a good run out.
Yeah, so take the score on it for me, Ellis, please.
I'll give him a 6.
A 6 for you, Joe. Stick a score and give us a synopsis.
I'd go 6 as well, but I think Ricky starts on Saturday in place of Johnny. I just think I rate Ricky so much. I think he's such a good little player. I said last year that I think he's probably, last season at least, I think he's the most valuable asset at the club. I think maybe now Tom Clayton maybe comes ahead of him just because of his pedigree. But yeah, I think Ricky's class. I think the fact he signed a longer deal sort of during this season as well, I think the club is fully in on Ricky Aguiar.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think the thing that Ricky just brings to the table is everyone knows he's a threat from set pieces.
He strikes the ball, doesn't he?
Oh, mate, he just strikes it so well. Like, and at this level, set pieces are just absolutely critical. And we've got bigger bodies in through the door this season that can get on the end of some of these set piece deliveries as well. So we're not just talking direct free kicks, but we're literally talking about him picking people out. Yeah. So Yeah, listen, I'm not. I certainly wouldn't rule him out of taking Johnny's position at the weekend. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I came away from the game last night just salivating at the prospect of a forward line of Luke Jeffcott, Jake Wakelin, and Hepburn-Murphy. I was just thinking, like, wow, what a front three. But then increasingly, like you've heard it from the man himself tonight, like he's probably not ready to be a start. He's going to be like an impact sub.
Yeah. I'm gonna disagree with Joe there with Aguiar coming in for Williams, and that's not a knock on Aguiar. It's more to do with the position, because Williams has been playing as one of the front three, and I don't see Aguiar playing that far forward. And also, from what I watched last night, you saw such good touches on him. He just needs regular minutes. I thought if he plays regularly, we're going to get so much more out of him. But what can we do about that? We don't have a reserve team. We don't have a set up friendlies for that. I think, actually, I mean, we'll probably discuss this more later on. I think we might go with Wakeland, Jeffcott, and Shade as the front three Saturday.
Yeah, I can see that. I think you're probably right. Max, on the other hand, completely disagrees. Max Spring, good evening, Max. Max has tweeted Aguiar hat-trick incoming on Saturday. So Max has got a foot firmly, or both feet firmly planted in Joe Vincent's camp. But all right, well look, Chris, you're on. Give us a score for Ricky Aguiar.
AB's not listening, is she?
Oh no.
Right, I would go for 6 as well. It wasn't bad, but I thought Hutton was better for me, and but Aguiar was certainly winning the top 3 performers. But I just thought there were little things and touches, and that came from just not playing. So for me, it was a 6.
With the not playing thing, you mentioned about having like reserve games or whatever. I think we've got the squad size this year to be organising sort of behind closed doors games in the week. I think even playing at Foundation Park or playing during sort of training or going to sort of B teams of Championship above, I think you've got a team that you could put out.
And that's exactly what we need.
I think it'll happen. I think it will happen.
To get those guys what they need, because you've got your 3 JPT games, or Pizza Pot, whatever you want to call it. And apart from that, they don't play games. They don't get the chance, so we have to send them out on loan to play at a lower level. And it doesn't really do them any good.
I'll tell you one thing for nothing. I bet your games in training are competitive with the amount of competition for players got when they go 11.
29-man squad?
Yep. Yeah, exactly that. So
I guarantee Scott Lindsay's looking at behind closed doors games for some of the players.
And that is exactly what we need to keep those guys sharp.
Yeah, I think without a shadow of a doubt that you're gonna have to see some of those. But I do kind of sense that there are maybe 3 or 4 members of that squad, not including the under-18 lads that we saw last night, but there are other members of that squad that will, potentially go out on loan. For some reason, I was driving down the M4 last night, sort of contemplating Ricky Aguiar doing a Scott Twine and ended up at a Newport. I could, if he doesn't get that run of games, if he doesn't get that break, I can see him as part of his development going out, if not to the top end of the National League, certainly off to another League 2 club where I fully expect him to hold his own. And I think
actually think that would be better for his development than just sat on our bench and getting 20 minutes here and there. Just even if it's just for a month or 2.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, listen,
send him to Farnborough. He can stay with me. I'll look after him.
Yeah.
Send him to Aldershot.
No, let's not do that.
Just don't send him to Bromley, because I don't think my daughter could contain herself. Right. Well, I think it's probably just about fair that I reckon across the scores there. Mike, would you disagree if we were to slot Ricky Aguiar a 7 based on last night?
No, I think that's pretty fair. I'd rate him sort of a mid to high 6 personally. But yeah, I agree with what everyone else has said. I want to see more at Ricky Aguiar. I think he's got good rapport with Sadio Khan, and I think it's a positive that we got so many players pushing for places in the team. It's only going to improve, that sort of competition. So yeah, decent game.
Decent game indeed. All right. Well, Ricky Aguiar, we will just about sneak you. I will use my host discretion and award you a good solid 7. But then making his debut last night was Morgan Roberts, a recent signing from Banbury. Who wants to chip in on Morgan Roberts? I'll get the ball rolling by saying I thought he was a delight to watch. There was loads of endeavour. He's got a trick or two up his sleeve. He's certainly no slouch. It gives me the impression, much like a Ricky Aguiar, there's a player in there finding his feet, but he's certainly got plenty of bottle. So I gave him a solid 6 based on what I saw last night. Almost tipping a 7, but not quite. I felt that the game maybe caught up with him a little bit towards the latter stages, where he faded away a touch. But I really, really like what I saw. Who wants to chip in on Morgan Roberts? Anyone got anything particular to say about him?
Yeah,
personally,
I can jump in.
Go on then.
Sorry, Mike. I keep doing that. Crack on,
Right.
buddy. Awkward silence. Yeah, on Morgan Roberts, I was excited to see him.
Go ahead, Big.
You know, we chatted before the game, and I think he had a strike in the first half where he took on a couple of boys, cut in, and hit it. And I just thought maybe nerves playing a bit there, because in a Banbury shirt, I think it goes top bins. But yeah, a decent show. I'd probably give him a 5 or a 6. So I'm happy to go with a 5.5.
And what about you, Mike? Sorry, mate, you had plenty to say on Morgan Roberts. Where was your head at?
Yeah, he's not a player I was really looking forward to seeing, man. Again, he just seems like I completely agree with your assessment. Someone who just he's such a hard worker, especially in the sort of early stages of the game, first half, that kind of thing. I agree, he did sort of slow down in the second half, but I liked what I saw. I think he's another one who benefit from consistent game time, but that is going to be hard to find in this squad. I don't feel like he sort of made the greatest case to start yet, but definitely would like to see more out of him. Really good touches, some decent skills, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely a player in there.
The one thing for me with him as well is stepping up 2 levels, so it's going to take him time to adjust. And I thought first half he really, apart from that one time that Joe mentioned, I think if that's when he cut in from the right and sort of scuffed a shot that I was talking, and then he wasn't really in the first half, but second half he was a lot more lively, and he moved around a bit. His movement looked good as well, because he was in the middle, then he was on the right, and he was on the left. I thought it's going to take him a bit of time to get used to the higher level, but I think we've got a player there.
Yeah,
so I would say there I'll give him 5 first half, 6 second half.
Yeah, that's fair comment, Chris. Do you think Morgan Roberts has done enough to cement himself a place on the bench for Saturday?
Yes. Well, he was on the bench last week. I mean, we might get to that later on as well, but he's certainly someone to have as an option to change it if the game's not going our way.
Yeah, I mean, he has got the world's craziest highlights reel from his time at Banbury. Yeah. It's an absolute joy to watch, and it was interesting seeing. He didn't look like a fish out of water last night. He looked very, very capable at that level. He's got experience, like his pedigree is really good. He's got experience of academy level football. And I didn't sense that he was at all overawed last night. So how about you, Ellis? What sort of score did you give Morgan off the back of last night?
I'd give him a 5 or a 6. Like, you got to think we were playing a top end competitive League One team. It's not like they put out all their under 18s, and it says a lot for Roberts that he's come up sort of 2 levels and then playing a team from the league above and seeing glimpses of good football in his game. He looks quite a tricky player. So, for him to be able to hold his own in the game last night, I think that says something about him as a player.
And I'll tell you what, Ellis, it's an interesting point, because even the under 18s that Plymouth did put out there, one of them was an absolute man mountain and scored a peach of a header. The other lads I thought they were a box of tricks. I mean, their academy is clearly churning out gems at the moment. I mean, it goes. We were having this conversation last night about Oscar Massey. We were saying that, you know, their production line must be pretty bloody tasty. If you're letting a lad with the goal scoring record of Oscar Massey go from Plymouth, I appreciate Massey was out of contract, but you know, they may well have fought hammer and tong to keep him, and we've just fought that bit harder to get him in. But I mean, wow, what a production line they've got. So yeah, I make you right, mate. I genuinely, like, watching them last night. Obviously, they had Mayer in midfield. He's a player that we've I'd say coveted. I think there was not a Swindon fan in the ground last night. I wouldn't like to see Danny Mayer wearing the red of Swindon Town. I think they had quality right through their squad. I thought their keeper was very capable. I thought their youngsters were really good. And Ryan Hardy is always going to get you goals. So, I just don't think he looks out of place. So to your point, I think your score is fair. So I think he just about catches a comfortable 6. Morgan Roberts in the lineup. Then we move to the front three. The remaining of the front two. So we've got Tyree Shade was playing the kind of central role. A tough night for him. Obviously, he had a big challenge on his hands with a very, very decent Plymouth back line. I gave Shade, there were lots of huff and puff. I gave Shade a 6. It was a low 6 for me last night because I felt that he's playing a role that just isn't suited to him, and I thought it kind of showed last night. Victim of versatility for me, Tyrese Shade. So a solid 6 for me. Who wants to chip in about big Tyrese?
I would say with Shade, he's not a centre forward, and I think it came down to the fact that we just didn't have anyone else to play in that role. I mean, Shade could either play right or left, and he would be a lot better. He's just not through in the middle. It's just it's a completely different game you play as the 9, and I just don't think he's suited to that.
I didn't get the impression, Chris, that there's just a striker's instinct, if you know what I mean. I think his game is suited to beating a man and either putting the box or having a crack. I think
he's a wide player.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's got enough of the sniffer about him or enough of the poacher about him for it to be fair on him. So yeah, he a low 6 for me. How are you scoring him?
I'm scoring him a 5.9.
A 5.9. So a high 5 for you. How about you, Joe? How were you scoring big Tyrese on last night?
I'd go 5.8 just to be different from Chris. But yeah, like I say, I don't think he didn't have the best of games last night. He didn't do much wrong. I think he had some decent moments where he sort of drove the back line. There was endeavour. There was positive reactions to winning the ball back. Didn't really have a sniff, but yeah, he's better off on the right where he can get to the byline and hopefully swing a ball in for someone like a Lou Jeffcott or a Jakey. And yeah, like I said, he didn't do much wrong, but he just didn't sort of light the pitch up, I guess.
And the next player that we'll talk about, we will come on to Mo Darbre, but I thought when you saw the best part of Tyrese's game was when he did exactly what it is I think he's brilliant at, where he's ultimately skinned the fullback and put the most delicious ball across the corridor of uncertainty, for want of a better word, right on the edge of the 6-yard box, which nearly led to a goal. So, but Mike, how were you scoring Tyrese on last night's performance, buddy?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the previous rating so far. I'd say like a high 5 for me personally. It's weird though because like Shade played that game earlier in the season. I think it was a cup game where he played sort of centrally, and he had a really good game. So like you sort of said, he's sort of a victim of his own versatility. Really, the fact that he's able to do a job at basically any position across that front line means that I'm not sure if he'll ever really stick a position for a long period of time. But yeah, it wasn't his best game, but he has shown he's capable of putting a decent performance there.
Yeah, for me, so it's just a bit of a square peg in a round hole, and I think the game you're referencing is the Crystal Palace under-21 game, where plenty of huff and puff, plenty of endeavour. I just think the basic facts are, I just think in the central striking positions we've got better options, and I just think he is a better option as a wide player. How were you scoring him, Ellis?
Yeah, I think 6 is a fair score for him. Like you said, he was playing against a good back line. So I think he's sort of you could see it's not his natural position, but he done well in all considered.
Yeah, all right. Well, that I would say he just about sneaks a 6 in our overall ratings. And then last but very much not least in terms of the starting 11 is Mo Abracadabra. Who wants to have a little chip in about Darbre, because he's a firm favourite at Swindon, isn't he? Like, our fans love his endeavour. He's got wonderful charisma. But at the same time, he's. I mean, I think I'm right in believing he's not started a league game for us yet. So he's got to be. Like I mentioned earlier about players going out on loan, Mo Darbre is one of those players where I kind of think for his own development, I'd love him to go out into the National League, find himself a club, find himself a settled position. And I've mentioned this a few times about Mo Darbre. I live not a million miles away from where Valencia Academy is, and I've coached kids that have played with Mo Darbre. And when they told me about the fact that they knew this lad that had signed for Swindon Town, they immediately said that he's a central defensive midfielder, and they all call him Little Kante at Valencia Academy. So, Mike, we start with you. Firstly, I mean, I scored Darbre last night as a high 5. Where did you put him?
Yeah, around the same sort of position, to be honest with you. I saw some sort of fan chat online afterwards on Twitter about Darbre, and they all say the same thing. He's a very promising player, but it just seems like sometimes we'll get the ball and he'll get into a promising position, he'll have a fall over or sort of get muscled off the ball or something like that. And it's sort of something that's been cropping up in previous games as well. But he genuinely is so promising, and you can clearly see there's a player in there. It's really interesting what you say about his feedback from Valencia as well. I've never really considered playing him in that sort of CDM role, but now that you say it, I can imagine that kind of energy in the middle of the pitch, sort of like a terrier almost, sort of biting at your ankles all the time. I completely agree with what you say. I think he was at Chip Town earlier. We loaded him out to Chip Town last season. So yeah, to see him get more game time and hopefully develop his game, it would be quite good.
Yeah, but not one of his performances yet have given him the opportunity to deploy himself in a central role. So whether that's just because it's such a pivotal role to how the team plays, and the coaches haven't quite got the faith in him to be able to play in that central role, and he's less of a risk out wide yet, we don't know. But how did you score him, Mike? So you said you're comfortable with a 5, are you?
Yeah, I'd agree like a 5.8, something like
that. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I'd give him the same. I think, like you mentioned earlier on about him probably needing a National League loan. I think he'd do well with that level. I think the thing that he needs, like the technical abilities there, I think he just needs to be roughed up a little bit. And I don't want to see our little Mo get sort of chopped down left, right, and centre when he's playing away at the rough places like Aldershot and Woking. But I just don't know. I think he needs men's football week in, week out, especially this season. Obviously, he had a stint at Chippenham last year. I think a step up from that, it will do him a lot of good. I think he'd come back probably knocking on the door to start if he has a year playing senior football at the National League level.
Yeah, it's I mean, for me, like, it is just a question of like getting a position absolutely bolted down, like, and understanding exactly where it is, where he can be, where he can influence games. It's all very well and good for Valencia Academy to say he's a little Kante, but is he going to be a little Kante? Is that enough to influence football league games? I mean, I
must admit, I think he's probably best suited for number 6 as well. But is he going to be suited for League 2 football in that position? He can play left wing back. He can play on the wing. I don't think he's got the attacking ability to play as well. Certainly in an attacking position out wide. I think he can win the ball back, and I think he can play it inside. So maybe left wing back in a 5, potentially. But do you know what I mean? Where he needs to be in a position where he's playing against 6'4" blokes getting kicked in the shins on the weekly. I just think a bit of a Roy Keane treatment when Ronaldo come through at United. I think it'll do him good.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. A little bit like what Harry Parsons is going through at the moment, no doubt.
Sure.
How were you scoring him, Ellis?
Yeah, I think 5.5. Like you've all said, I think he just needs games, and if he's not going to get it, this season, then maybe a loan option is probably best. But yeah, like I said, I think he just needs to be playing as frequent as possible.
Well, one of the things, Ellis, that we unearthed about the EFL trophy last night was the fact that players, the Football League had lobbied the FA, and the FA have allowed players that are EFL players but on loan into the non-leagues on like a standard loan.
Yeah.
They can turn to their clubs and play in the EFL trophy. So, I mean, I was initially kind of thinking, until I was made aware of that role, I was thinking, they'll get the Bristol Rovers game out of the way, and then they'll probably look to loan them out. But I mean, I would say, given that we now know that we're out of the tournament, we've got that dead rubber coming up. If I was the club, I'd be like, putting plans for loaning a few of these boys out like into action like pronto, and I wouldn't be waiting around. Like, why would you?
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to bring them back and play them in a dead rubber, because sure as eggs is eggs now, you're not going to risk any of your first team players, are you? So yeah, sure as eggs is eggs. You'll be you'll be looking to play them. So all right, well look, I think Darbury gets a solid 5. I'm not going to go through the tortuous sort of process of asking for all of our subs to be scored as well, because obviously Harvey Fox came on for Reece Devine, Anton Dworzak came on against Ellis Iandolo. Both of those lads I thought did really, really well. And obviously tonight's guest came on. We've talked. It's all been about the superlatives tonight when we've been talking to Rushian Hepburn-Murphy. I think. I gave Rushian when he came on a solid 8, and yet man of the match just in terms of his overarching endeavour. I'd given to Ricky Aguiar. I kind of found myself feeling a bit guilty having done that tonight, but I mean I'm splitting hairs between the two given their contribution. I do think Hepburn-Murphy was absolutely outstanding when he came on. The unused subs, Connor Brand, Josh Keys. Good to see another young man in Josh Keys get a nod on the bench. Sonny Hart and Abu Kanu. We hopefully will see a few of those lads given plenty of minutes against Bristol Rovers. But look, moving as swiftly forward, aware of the time, guys, we've got Grimsby away on Saturday. But look, an interesting summary, Chris, obviously closer to your neck of the woods than we are to mine down here. They're managed by Paul Hurst, and he's assisted by Chris Doig. Both of those guys have just had their contracts extended at Blundell Park. Hurst initially took over at Blundell Park as far back as 2011, and he led Grimsby to promotion from the National League in 2016 before he then left for Shrewsbury in October of that year. Since had spells at Ipswich and Scunthorpe, but it's not really worked out for him at either club, and he's returned for a second spell Grimsby, and by goodness is it going well for him. He was unable to prevent relegation to the National League in 2020, but he led them straight back up in 21-22, and they are in fine form. Their record currently reads lost, drawn, 1-1, drew 1-1, drew 1. Key to that form has been their excellent away form. And actually, good news for Town is that they do appear to be a little bit more, shall we say, Swindon early season form at home is the best way to put it. So they've had their struggles at home where they've drawn, won, drawn and drawn. So getting a lot of very impressive wins away from home. So they face Swindon off the back of a 1-0 away win at struggling Colchester on Saturday. The danger man to look out for is on the left of their midfield is Harry Clifton, who's a Welsh under-21, so a teammate of Luke Jeffcott. Currently this season got 4 goals in 8 appearances, 24-year-old, come up through their youth ranks and has got 150 plus appearances in the bank at Grimsby. Another lad to look out for on the left-hand side. So the big threat for Grimsby is down the left-hand side is Anthony Driscoll-Glennon. He's their left back who's hit 3 assists in 9 for them this season. Signed for them, great pedigree, signed from Burnley on a free transfer. Lads, I'll put it to you, really. We'll try and see. I'm going to go through you. I'm not going to ask you all to pick a team. I'm going to assign you certain roles as I go through. Chris, you probably got the easiest task of the night. How are we lining up against them? Give me a performance and give me your a formation and give me your goalkeeper, please.
Oh, you don't even need to ask me who the goalkeeper is. I think we all know what that's going to be. But I think we'll stick to the 4-3-3, and Solbryn will be in goal.
So you think we're going to go for them with a 4-3-3 with your Bryn in goal? No reason to disagree with that. Joe, going to give you a slightly trickier task because I believe that we've got potentially Marcel Lavinier returning at the weekend. I'm going to ask you for a right back in your formation, please.
So ordinarily, I probably would start Lavinier, but I don't want to rush him back, so it's probably going to be Hutton.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to guess you're going to probably have Lavinier on the bench. Hutton continues, given his recent good form.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think Lavinier will reclaim the space moving forward, but yeah, Hutton's not done anything wrong to be dropped, and also Marcel's coming back from an injury, so it makes sense.
Now, depending on which way you put the next one, Mike, you're my next selection. I'm going to ask you to pick a left back and a formation.
Left back and a formation. That is a difficult one. Wow, that is a genuinely hard question.
Look, put it this way, Reece Devine, I don't know whether he's done enough last night to be forcing Fraser Blake Tracy out of the lineup.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, 100%.
But FBT's a shoe-in down the left, surely.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd agree. It's just a formation. I reckon we probably will stay 4-3-3, but I want to see us with a back 3, back 5 again. But yeah, no, I'd have to agree. Blake Tracy is definitely going to occupy that spot.
Right, you are, and Ellis leaves you and I to go with our centre backs. Now, it sounds like I'm sure it'll come out in the presser the extent of Angus MacDonald's injuries, because I believe that he was having a scan on his knee today, and unless it's come out and you can tell me any differently, or if anyone can tweet in, who are you going for at centre back, Ellis, for the weekend?
Well, you got to go Clayton.
Mm-hmm. As your formation, what are you going for?
4-3-3, and then I'd quite like to see a 4-4-2 at some point, maybe with Jeffcott and Wakeland both up front together. Yeah, that could possibly be later on in the game, like if we take Darcy off, or something like that.
I think I'll be going my centre-back selection, slotting in alongside. So you're going Clayton. I don't think centre-back. I don't think Brennan did enough to force his way into the starting lineup at the weekend. I think you've got to go with the experience and the ball-playing ability of Matt Bowdry alongside Clayton at the weekend. Going back to you, Chris, let's just go bearing in mind, it seems like we're all plumping for a 4-3-3. So who's going to be on the left-hand side of your midfield, given that we've had the returning Ellis Iandolo? We've got a little bit of reshuffling to do with Johnny Williams missing. Who are you going for on the left of your midfield?
So obviously, if we're going for the 4-3-3, then you're going to have left centre midfield, right centre midfield, and obviously a defence.
Yep.
So the left centre midfield for me, it's Ben Gladwin.
You're slotting Gladders in there.
Yep.
Joe, you've got the easiest job, central defensive midfielder, assuming that he's not carrying a knock or any other issues.
Yeah, his name sounds like Rui Lead.
And who should we go? Right, Mike, who are you going to go with on the right-hand side of your midfield?
For me, it's got to be Khan. I feel like he's shown that he's capable of performing that role at the moment. Although I wouldn't begrudge anyone for choosing Aguiar, but for me, it's Khan.
No, you've totally. I can't believe you've done Ronan Darcy dirty there, haven't you? You have done. Has he done anything to deserve being dropped from your starting lineup, Mike? Is there a reason why you're going with Khan over Darcy?
I think it's just the The game itself, like I feel like Khan's a bit more of a industrial, physical midfielder. I feel like he's got that ability to have a bit more of a presence in midfield. I just feel like the opposition doesn't necessarily suit Darcy, but it's slightly harsh on Darcy. I do agree.
All right.
But the thing with this as well now is we've got these changes on the bench. So if that's not working, Darcy can come on and play a different game to Khan.
Yeah.
That was last year. We didn't really have guys who could come off the bench and we would be confident that they could make an impact.
I'm completely with you, Chris. And to Scott Lindsay's point about not having substitutes, having game changers, that is very much in keeping with what you're saying. Ellis, coming back to you, you've already mentioned what your forward line. I mean, let's go on the basis that we're going with a 4-3-3. Obviously, we're missing Johnny Williams at the weekend. Who is going to be on the left-hand side of your attack?
Shade.
You're going Tyree Shade. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to go in the centre, Luke Jeffcott, and I am going to give you, Ellis, the opportunity to complete our striking lineup. So you're going Shade, Jeffcott. I think I know you're going to play on the right-hand side.
Jakey Wakey.
Jakey Wakey, yeah, all day long. I think I think he's got to, right. But again, isn't it exciting after this? As what I was trying to say after the game last night, what really excited me about last night, despite the fact that we lost, I wasn't just being happy clappy. I was literally, I couldn't care less about the Pizza Pot trophy. I was just looking ahead to the weekend and thinking, blimey, you look at that now. You're going to have Ellis Iandolo on the bench, Reece Devine on the bench, Morgan Roberts on the bench, Kieran Brennan on the bench. But the only place at the moment in that squad where we're lacking depth, and Scott Lindsay is trying to fix it with Mildy at the moment, is the reserve goalkeeper situation where we've got this young kid from Ireland, totally untried. It'd be really unfair to have to toss him in there. It's reserve goalkeeper, and we know that they're trying to recruit that at the moment. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I couldn't help but be excited. So, well, listen, let's have a prediction from each of you guys. No more, no less. I don't want a commentary. I just want a score from you. Chris, what are you going with?
2-1.
2-1 Town. How about you, Joe?
4-1 Town.
Nice. Mike, what are you thinking?
For me, 3-1.
Nice, 3-1. Ellis, what are you thinking?
3-0.
God, blimey, we are super confident. I am going to go with 3-1 Town, and let's have it. And I know Seaside Reds is going to be saying we will win 4-1 as he does every week. So, all right. Well, look, that deals with the main part of the any other business. So the roll into Saturday's game. Just for those of you that missed the show yesterday, the shows are recorded. They are available on our Twitter feed. We had a really lovely interview with Martin Wheeler last night, who's the chairman of Swindon Women's Football Club. Martin was in a real ebullient mood yesterday. Martin just wanted to really sort of like stress just how important Sunday's 3-2 win against Bournemouth at Foundation Park was. Martin was obviously keen to stress that Bournemouth being beaten by Swindon Women. Bournemouth were top of the league and absolutely flying, and they've got incredible resource. He couldn't say too much, but suffice to say there are conversations going on at the moment with our owner, Clem Morfuni, who seems very, very keen to be looking to bring Swindon Women's Football Club under the umbrella of the main club. And the general vibe was kind of watch this space. But off the back of a 5-goal thriller on Sunday, for the minuscule cost of a £3 admission, and I think it's free to get in if you're under 11. You can't really say no to that kind of football. Congrats to the two sponsored Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge players, Annie Colston. Swindon Town Women's number 9 bagged a hat-trick at the weekend, and we were delighted that our other sponsored player, Helena Diaz-Butcher, set her up for the third with an unselfish square ball across the box for Annie to slot home for what turned out to be a crucial third goal. So congrats. And listen, it's a really sad way. I don't like to finish on a downer, but what a sad way to finish the show. It appears we're saying cheerio to huge Swindon Town favourite Jordan Lydon. So, Jordan's made 53 appearances in his time at Swindon Town. He's scored 3 goals, easily one of the best midfielders outside the Championship on his day. And, you know, bar some of his injury problems, really should be playing in the Championship or potentially higher. Fair play to Jordan. I mean, boys, I'll take your points on Jordan and your memories on Jordan a little, you know, just shortly. But I just wanted to say, like, obviously, 2 summers ago, he was one of the small group of players that stuck with us and helped us keep the club together ahead of Clem Morfuni's takeover. And of course, we will always have Northampton away and that glorious header in the Championship winning season. A true wonderful moment when he got on the end of Owen Doyle's centre and sent us absolutely bonkers. So he'll be forever remembered by us as a League Two champion. But yeah, we say goodbye to Jordan Lydon. I mean, I guess the thing is, Ellis, I'll take your view on this, really. I mean, we've got an embarrassment of riches in midfield, haven't we? It was always going to be a tough ask for Jordan Lydon to kind of fight his way back into the plans, given some of the competition that we've got.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it as well is with his injuries and him being injury prone. It was never going to sort of help his situation. But like you said, it's very sad to see him go because he is a good player.
Well, and it's testament to Jordan Lydon as well. The club that are reportedly in for his services are Barrow, who are turning out to be this season's real surprise package. And I mean, you know, that as a signing for them, whilst they're flying away at the top of the table, would be an incredible coup, wouldn't it? I mean, Chris, I'll get your thoughts on that. If you're Barrow's gaffer, you'd do a hell of a lot worse than getting Jordan Lydon in your squad, because I mean, even if he gets injured, I mean, just having his experience around the dressing room will be absolutely vital for him, won't it? Between now and obviously, appreciate we're still early in the season, but what a great body to have around a burgeoning squad that have already gone off like a rocket.
Yeah, well, but Pete Wilds, who's the manager there now, obviously knows him from Oldham as well, so he knows what he brings both on the pitch and off the pitch, and I can understand why we've not offered him anything, because we're covered in midfield, and with the injury record, you know, there's an element of risk there, and it does bring something we haven't got, but it's quite risky with his injury record, so I can understand that. But going back to Barrow and a guy who knows him, he obviously knows his qualities, and if they can keep him fit, even if they only can keep him fit for half a season, he's going to bring so much to that team.
Yeah, well, as I said, an immense player. Joe, have you got a favourite Jordan Lydon memory? Is it going to be much like mine, Northampton away?
Yeah, I think Northampton away was the one. I mean, for us town fans, I know Marley coined the phrase "kangaroo Kante," but he just was that during the first season. He was so good, really assured, really just. I think in Jordan Lydon, you had exactly what a Richie Wellens team was about. He was the sole linchpin of that side in my eyes. Him alongside Anthony Grant and Michael Doughty in that midfield. I know it was the season of Owen Doyle and Jerry Yates, but that midfield was where that entire success came from. So we've just got to thank him for obviously his time and for sticking with us during our toughest hour. So yeah, best of luck to him. Hopefully,
Anthony Grant was in that midfield as well. It was just superb.
Yeah, say Anthony Grant, Michael Doughty, Jordan Lydon. It's not a bad League Two midfield.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's a big question actually here, Mike. I'll put it to you. Would you take those 3 over our current 3 midfield?
So who are the 3? Lydon, Grant, and
Michael Doughty over Louis Reed, Ben Gladwin, and who do you want to throw in? Johnny Williams, boys, or Ronan Darcy?
Go, Johnny.
Yeah,
got for Johnny. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was such a huge fan of Michael Doughty. I remember that free kick he did sort of near the end of his Swindon career. And it sort of flew in the top bins. He was an absolute class player. It's really difficult. Both midfielders in the day are class, but personally, right now, just because of the pedigree, especially like someone like Johnny Williams played for Wales, that kind of thing, I'd have to take our midfield now. But going back to sort of some of our favourite memories.
No. Well, listen, Mike, I'm just going to stop you there, mate, because I'll tell you what. just think about what you've just said. If you're saying that our current midfield is better than the midfield that got us promoted under Richie Wellens, I'll tell you what, don't you know, pump it up. The Reds are going up.
You know what? Yeah, that's actually very true, and I'm glad you stopped me there, because it is something that I think as fans, we do forget. Like genuinely, our squad is quality for this level. It really is. We've got so many great players, and it's just a testament that we can look at our midfield now, compare it to a league winning midfield, and say, yeah, you know what, I think this one is better. And yeah, just the final sort of note on Jordan Lydon for me. Anyway, we're going on about sort of our favourite moments. One of my favourite games from him was in 2019, start of the season against Carlisle. He was just man of the match that game. He sort of dominated the midfield, really sort of that strong presence. Winning the ball back and then sort of spraying it about. So yeah, I really hope he goes on to fulfil his significant potential.
And he played that game against Exeter last season with a ruptured Achilles for a good chunk of minutes before he decided that I can't go anymore.
It's just frightening, Chris. I mean, this thing about Jordan Lydon, I think, people sort of kind of almost describe players like Jordan Lydon as kind of having broken bodies. I think Matt Bowdry made a really, really interesting point when he's talked about the way that the medical staff have educated him on managing his body and managing himself in training. It's they only know how to train one way and play one way, and that is absolute full tilt. And I think anyone that's played for Swindon Town and been absolute full tilt deserves nothing more, nothing less than just the fullest credit. I'm just going to finish on Jordan Lydon by saying this. I'm actually going to be able to start bringing Mrs. Hanrahan to Swindon Town matches again moving forward without any fear for the integrity of my marriage moving forward, because he was a bloody good-looking lad as well, let's be honest, as I was frequently told by my good lady wife the first time she met him and went all blushy. So, but hey, listen, I know my limitations. Jordan Lydon, I am not. But listen, Jordan, I know you won't be listening in because you're not big on your socials, but if anyone that is listening in and wants to send Jordan the link, Jordan, you leave Swindon Town with our deepest of gratitude. You will always be a friend of Swindon Town Football Club. And hopefully, you never know, we might be able to try and get Jordan on the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge at some point moving forward to get his story. But we wish him all the very, very best. Well, that was a bit of a mammoth one, wasn't it? We're getting on for a big old 3-hour show. Well, listen, everyone's got beds to go to, including me. So thank you all for your ears, those hardy souls that are listening in live. And thank you ever so much to our special guest tonight, Charlie Austin, all the way from down under. And of course, the effervescent Rushian Hepburn-Murphy, who was absolutely tremendous on the questions. My sincerest thanks to you, Chris. Thanks for coming along, mate. Thanks for tuning in again.
Yeah, it's great. See you at Grimsby.
Yeah, you certainly will. Joe, thanks ever so much to you, buddy. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you very much.
Mike, thank you ever so much, Chief. Make sure the guest is ready for the next home game.
No worries, we'll keep it top notch. Just before we go as well, I wanted to say we've just finished uploading the Jake Wakeland episode onto YouTube as well, so feel free to catch that online if you guys fancy it.
You're a beautiful man, though, soon as you finish that, but now you've got a Rushian Hepburn-Murphy to upload.
The voice.
We'll get that on.
But we thank you for that. And the champ, Ellis, thank you, buddy. Really appreciate you tuning in, pal.
My pleasure.
And to the rest of you, thanks ever so much. Please do remember that the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge is an independent Swindon Town fans Twitter space. It therefore doesn't represent the views of Swindon Town Football Club or indeed Sir Tom himself. It's been our absolute pleasure having you with us. Hopefully we will have a show of some form over the weekend. We are toying with our very first away day pre and post match. So keep it posted. We've got plans afoot on that front. But we will certainly, if we're not in and around for the weekend, I would hope we'll at least do a fry up on Sunday, a late Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge late fry up. We will at least, you can have us as an absolute stone bonker for next Wednesday when we'll be back with Charlie Austin, hopefully another special guest. We've got a few in the pipeline. and look forward to teasing those in as the week progresses. But my thanks to all my panelists, my thanks to our guests, and my thanks to you guys for listening. Take good care of yourself. See you at the ground sometime soon.